minutes, 21 seconds. 5-second tone followed by a 1-second pause.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Okay, gang, let's go.
From the space city called Houston, Texas, welcome to Spaceboy Universe, featuring Spaceboy and the lovely Solana.
So strap in and prepare for launch sequence.
Greetings and salutations. I'm Spaceboy.
I'm Solana.
And this is Spaceboy Universe. It is December 9th, 17. That is the year. It is show number 2.10. And tonight we have special guest, friend of the show, Patrick-sporer. And we'll take your calls tonight. As always, follow us on Twitter. That's at the SBU Universe. Follow Solana at Solana. Follow me, that's Spaceboy at Spaceboy Music. And of course, follow the show that brings you, and that's the network that brings you this fine content, and that's at the SBU Network. Also, remember tonight, Space Cadets, to hashtag your tweets with hashtag SB Universe and hashtag Space Cadets. Want to hang out with those said Space Cadets? You can do so by going to spaceboyuniverse.com, click the dancing chat bubble in the player, and that'll get you in with all the cool kids. In addition to Twitter, you can find the universe on Facebook, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Just look for Spaceboy Universe. Speaking of YouTube, you can find more than the Spaceboy Universe of archive of shows. That's right, there is video content from Spaceboy Music, video interviews, 2-Bit Gamers, and so much more. So do your obligation, Space Cadets, and become a subscriber to the YouTube channel. Now, can't catch a show live? No problemo. Take the SBU on the go via Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, and including YouTube, especially YouTube Red. Because, we love to broadcast. And on that magical note, here is the lovely Solana. How are you, Solana?
I wasn't ready for you.
I know. I was just cruising there today.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, he's quit talking. I wasn't prepared for it.
I was a man with a mission tonight.
Yeah, so it's been a week since we've talked to y'all, and
seems like forever.
Yeah, and the most shocking thing was it Friday morning? No, it's Thursday morning.
Oh, okay. I'll let you.
I get up first. I leave first for work. I come home.
So you're
first.
like K-28 into the room.
And I got ready like normal, thinking, yeah, it's a little nippy in here. And I was like, I'll throw in a jacket. I got all my stuff ready, packed up. Opened the front door to leave, and what is all this white stuff?
What's this?
I thought it was cocaine.
I can't believe my eyes.
It was my first thing, So, I think the last time I saw snow was 2004.
Was that the infamous when we... No, it was...
we were dating.
No, there was a time that it snowed when we were living here, but it was back in when I was...
We were dating. You and I were dating.
There was a time after that. I know that's a magical moment when we went out on a date. We went to a Mexican restaurant because you love Mexican food, and we saw snow. It was in December.
Yeah. So you kind of played with the snow a little bit, and then I was like, okay, well, this is fun. Now I got to get it off the car so I can get out of here. So we're talking, this thing was just a light dusting. This you couldn't have made a snowman with it or anything. It was just like frosting on the lawn or something. So as I went to get the lid of a plastic container, and I was pulling the snow off the windshield. And as I was doing this, I was hearing squeals of delight from the darkness. Little kids were running out and frolicking. So that was after the hurricane and all of that Houston went through, that hurricane and that devastation, it was like having a little treat. Sure, it was all melted probably like an hour after sun came up. It was all gone, but it was really nice to see. It was fun to see it, and it didn't cause any problems,
No, because I managed to get to work. Probably I was.
People were upset about that. They had to go to work.
Yeah, I was about 5 minutes late, but I still
like,
made it to work.
Don't go to work. I'm like, well, even if you don't go to work in an hour, you'll still be able to go to work. But I'm like, dude, we have used up all of our don't have to go to work credit with that hurricane, because I was out from August 25th to September 8th, paid emergency leave. So I don't think it's going to get better than that.
Yeah, so, it was nice to see a little snow. But when you left that morning, it was pretty much pitch dark. You couldn't see.
Well, it's always pitch dark when I get up.
But when I got up, it was really cool because the light, the sun hadn't come up over the horizon, but everything was lit up. And then when you looked down the street, it was like a winter wonderland. It really felt like Christmas.
Did you see the photos my friend posted, Leanne, on Facebook? She's up there. She's about 40 minutes north of us, and she has property with, horses and whatnot, and it looked like a postcard. The photos she took, they were just gorgeous. So,
no, I didn't get to see any of Leanne's pictures.
There wasn't enough to make a snow angel.
I think I saw a picture of a horse, and that was about it. But I didn't see much snow compared to. It was just nice here because.
She had this one picture. It was just trees, and they were all frosted. It looked like something out of you'd see up north somewhere. You didn't know where it was. But hey, Bev. So that was a nice little treat for Houston. It is a very rare and strange thing to happen.
Yes, indeed. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, that's
it has happened before, but it's one of these things. It never lasts. It's very light.
So how does that make you feel, knowing that was our one day of winter?
We had like 40 some odd hours of winter. I'm not joking. I'm not being funny. That was it. We're done. Monday, the high will be 71 degrees. So winter was fun, all 2 days of it.
Yeah, Solana is not funny whatsoever.
No, although that was what could have been classified as Pearson picnic weather in my family's, but I didn't have anybody to go on a picnic with, so there you go.
So what else is going on, Solana?
Well, you and I have been talking about nerdy things lately.
We always do.
Because you and I both heard this thing that I thought it was a rumor, but is it verified that Quentin Tarantino will be directing the next Star Trek movie? Now, I'm assuming we're still in that alternate universe of J.J. Abrams, which I don't really care for, but I still watch it because the last one they did, I did enjoy. So the news broke that Tarantino and Abrams struck this deal with Paramount, and so they would go play in the Roddenberry sandbox. So it's not really... He'll be... Basically what they're saying is Star Trek could be an R-rated movie.
And probably with a sense of...
swearing and nudity?
Well, Kirk couldn't keep it in his pants, so probably. And then, it could be pretty violent.
The AU Kirk is more... He's got
more subdued?
Yeah, he's got more honor than that, but...
he doesn't have the swagger that Bill Shatner has?
No. So... They're probably trying. They're saying they're trying to maximize on the Deadpool success, because you can have it funny and R-rated and have it be, and also Logan being R-rated. Think of that. So it's just odd to think of. You've got Gene Roddenberry's vision of this peaceful utopian future where Earth and humanity becomes united and peaceful, and we finally rise above all of our petty concerns. How do you drop Tarantino into this? It's going to be dark and gritty. It's going to be R-rated. So you're thinking about that, right? Mm-hmm. So I kept looking into this, and oh crap, I've lost it. Hold on, because it's on a separate page. Patrick Stewart, if you don't know, he played Captain Jean-Luc Picard
from the USS Enterprise
of Star Trek: The Next Generation television show. Mm-hmm. he said he would return to Star Trek if Quentin is going to direct it. But I'm like, Patrick, this is AU.
But let's take it a step further. Beyond that, he mentioned that really, if there was an ensemble cast of all Trek, he would definitely be a part of that because that.
And
not
I'm
just,
on board with that.
I mean,
but the thing is, how do you get an ensemble cast in this alternate universe of Trek that we're stuck in? It's not Prime. So Patrick Stewart said, according to the Hollywood Reporter interview he did, he's long wanted to work with Tarantino. And he's willing to reprise his role of Captain Picard if Tarantino wants him. It's because it's one of his dreams. He says that I admire his work, and to be in a Tarantino film would give me so much satisfaction. And if he's going to direct something to do a Star Trek, there's a possibility dear old Jean-Luc could show up, and I would embrace it. Mm-hmm. It may not be out of the question, and Tarantino previously indicated that Star Trek The Next Generation episode, Yesterday's Enterprise, is one of his favorites. And it's one of mine, too, because I think is that where we finally get rid of Tasha?
Well, I mean, Tasha comes back because it's a parallel universe because of what happens in that particular episode. And so, yeah, I guess it
I like the fact we get rid of her.
Well,
anyway,
we get rid of her in the Prime universe.
But it's unclear if Tarantino would build off of that type of idea.
Well, the idea that I get from what I've heard is Quentin Tarantino is interested in the time travel aspect with the Yesterday's Enterprise and the City on the Edge of Forever, which is The Guardian. Now, I hear that particular thing is kind of locked up because the original writer doesn't want it to be used as a plot line in anything.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, Stewart says, if someone came up with a brilliant idea, I'd do it. One thing that might interest me would be to bring all existing casts of Star Trek from the last 50 years together for one big story. And I would say, heck yes. I would love to see that. But the problem is, there's less of us, you and me, who hold the original casts of these TV shows very dear, and there's more of people who are not Trekkies, Trekkers, or enthusiasts. They're just everyday people who like sci-fi. So, and I'm thinking that's why the newer ones have been successful, is because I guess it's an easy way to get into it without knowing the backstories. But that pisses me off. So that's all I'm gonna
Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah, I don't care for that. But anyway. So,
I love how the other day we were we having lunch somewhere, or we started
yesterday.
It was yesterday. We were talking about
dinner.
A friend of yours at work, and talking about the new Star Trek STD. An unfortunate name.
Gosh, it is STD, isn't it?
Yeah, Star Trek Discovery, and how you were telling him that, no, I haven't seen it, which is kind of funny because in a lot of ways you are kind of hardcore, but you're hardcore to a point because you could care less about the original series. And
see, that's weird. I've never seen the original series. I'm aware of it. I know enough about it to not look stupid, but sitting down and watching every show of it back to back to back, I can't. Maybe it's because it feels so dated and it's so 60s. It's so borderline cheesy. I can't bring myself to do it, but I appreciate that it was first, that it was the beginning of canon. It's the Prime universe, and I appreciate the inclusion of the original cast into other things. So, but beyond that, I wasn't that crazy about Enterprise, but there was just enough to go on Enterprise that you need to watch it because it has important Prime universe backstories and plot points that you need to be aware of.
True, and I can understand Enterprise. One, it had the unfortunate theme song, which was so different from any other.
Oh my gosh, that's so.
And then the first,
the wimpiest.
I guess it had some sluggishness getting started, but by towards the end of the third season, and definitely the fourth season, I mean, it was just gangbusters going forward. I think
it hit its stride, and that's when Paramount said, "Okay, that's enough of that." Just like the original series.
Just like it does to all of it. I mean,
TNG, Voyager, and DS9 did go a full 7 seasons, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which is, although it did feel like Voyager and TNG got the short end of the stick with their finales. along with Enterprise. Enterprise got the biggest shaft with their finale. So anyway, we
think
want to get into that because we've gotten into it before.
Well, it's it's good talk. Anytime's a good time to talk Trek, but the ending of Enterprise was pretty.
I talked Trek and Star Wars and Stranger Things for 30 minutes at work.
I'm really surprised you talked Star Wars because that's another science fiction thing you don't care much about.
It was in that big conversation. It was sort of bookended in there, and so I think I mentioned it in passing. I'm behind on my new Star Wars movies, like the last one that came out. I haven't seen it yet. But you own it, so I think I can go back and look at it anytime. Mm-hmm. I know you're so jazzed for the new one, and I'm like, well, you should just go see it and enjoy it, and come back and tell me what it was like.
The reality is, I am not going to go to the movies when this thing comes out initially. It'll be a Sunday. It'll be like 10 o'clock in the morning when I try to avoid the crowd, and so I'm not. I'm eager to see the movie. Don't get me wrong.
I can't handle other people.
I just don't want to go.
If I have to sit next to another human being, I'll lose it.
What I was trying to say was that I'm not going to go and be a part of this crowd, and I don't. When I go to a movie, it's like a special experience for me. I don't want the big crowd. I want to be able to go in. And watch a movie and not have to worry about getting a good seat, because I think the worst seat I ever sat in was when I went to go see Back to the Future 2. We got there just as the movie's about to start, and it was packed, and I was with three other friends, and we had to sit all over the theater because there wasn't seats all next to each other. So I had to sit close to the front, to the far left.
I hate that.
So I'm my head's cocked off to the side like Forrest Gump, and it was just really a terrible experience. And
Dennis in chat is saying that all the fan theories are wrong, and the speculations have no idea where STD is going.
Well, he's absolutely right, because we
talked about this last night at dinner. The
way it ended the season finale, and it really kind of sets it up, because the impression I get is that they were doing these jump drives, and I guess the captain figured out that not only could they jump to any point in the universe, but they could jump to parallel universes. And so I think that this captain, wanted to go really in the extent, how Voyager got lost in the Delta Quadrant, wanted to take it a step further and get lost into another parallel universe. And so
you're thinking they might be edging their way back to the Prime universe?
Well, interesting you point that out is that all along they've been saying this is set in the Prime universe. So one can only imagine that maybe that the ship Discovery, that is, has jumped to the Prime universe, and now they're in the Prime universe, and they're going to do everything that hardcore fans
and they get
expect
stuck there,
or something to that effect. Because for those, I don't want to give too much away, because it's actually a pretty decent show for what I watched. The way that they make their jumps, well, the guy can't make the jumps because I guess you could say he's burnt out, unable to do it. So it'll be interesting to see when Star Trek Discovery comes back, I guess in January. But there's a lot of juiciness going on and things that it looks like it's going to be great.
Now that would be intriguing if they are building all this up to merge it with Prime, and you even told me you had some hints of one of the crew could be a mirror. Well,
yeah, they were saying that the captain could be actually from the mirror universe, and then of course they've got this right before they made the jump, they arrested or captured one of the Klingons in that universe, and she's on board in the jail, and apparently she messed around or with one of the crewmen that the captain broke out of their gel, and so it's just really a lot of twists. What I could have done without is the Klingon love-making scene that they showed during the show, because there were two things that they brought to this, was nudity and I guess a language. And the language kind of caught me off guard, but it was like, I guess we could have done without this. and then plus, I guess what other thing that bothers me is that in the Star Trek books, Titan, they already have a gay couple that's on that particular book.
Because I've read most.
And then they make it out in this show like, oh, here's the first gay couple. It's the doctor and the engineer.
Well, on television.
But I mean, it's it was okay, whatever.
In Star Trek television, although they've done that on DS9 with Jadzia, because Jadzia used to be a man several times.
True, and but I don't know. There were some things that I wasn't surprised, and I'm like the shock value, and it was like okay, whatever. So I went with that, But I guess the thing that just really bothered me the most of all things was the Klingon, I guess, romper room thing that they showed, and it was I described it as when you debone a chicken, that's what a Klingon looks like naked, so it was like
never seen one of them.
Well, just
that's a good point.
It's one of those things I had to go watch some kittens on the internet afterwards. a palate cleanser, because it was like
that's funny.
Yeah, it was terrible, But
now I have to go see that.
Like I said, I do like the engineer. I like the doctor. They're both cool. I like the captain. I think overall I like everybody.
A female captain.
No, in the first few episodes there was a female captain, but she got killed. Okay, all right. And then so her
spoilers.
Her first officer went off to. That's how eventually the first officer went to go serve on the Discovery. So I'm not really giving too much away there too. So anyway, if you could check it out, definitely check it out.
And tomorrow we're going to where to do what?
Let's see. Tomorrow, Sunday, we're going to go grocery shopping.
No, we were going to go get the thing you've ordered.
Oh, that's right. We went to the wrong store today.
We went to the wrong store.
I ordered, Christmas. We used to be hardcore Christmas, but the past couple of years we haven't really done a tree, but this year I finally broke down and bought another Hallmark ornament. It's Ripley in the fork loader thing, and right when she's about to battle the queen, and so I bought one of those. So thanks to my wife showing me that on Hallmark.com. Yeah, so like a fool.
There was a lot of them I'd love to
I
get.
immediately bought it, and in the store that I saw, I thought was the store that was closer to the house and not at the mall. Well, it's at the mall, so I got to brave myself through all the.
You've learned your lesson now.
Well, it was a chore trying to get to that other place this afternoon when we tried to pick it up, and
that's why I avoid going to department stores or anywhere that's not the grocery store or Walmart, because this is that time of the year where everybody's frenzy of shopping, and we only have each other, and we're also kind of poor, so we don't have to go through with that. So. Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see how that all goes down tomorrow, and I'll have a new toy. Take a picture, and you'll just check Facebook or Twitter.
We have
there.
A collection of really cool pop culture sci-fi ornaments, Christmas ornaments for the tree, but they're just sitting in a box.
I have the alien from the first movie ornament that I purchased. Yeah,
I want the airplane ornament from the movie Airplane.
Yeah, Shirley, you must be kidding.
Yeah, that's what's on there. Yeah. That's exactly the quote.
I'm not kidding, and don't call me Shirley.
Don't call Shirley. I'm like, I want that. But
that is a class.
They ain't cheap.
The thing is, a movie like that probably wouldn't be able to be made today.
No, because nobody would have the.
No, just
patience for puns,
all
and
the references and stuff. It just it's just a movie that would not get made today. A lot of stuff like this 70s, like the roast stuff, it's amazing.
They do those though.
Yeah.
But they're really harsh. They're way more harsh than they used to be.
I don't know. It's just there's a lot of things from the 70s as I started watching, like Richard Dawson would never be a host in any show, considering the climate of how things are right now of harassment. Could you imagine Richard Dawson in the news was accused?
He was in Running Man.
Yes.
Doing the same thing he does in real life.
Game kind of show thing.
Game show host.
But that was a cool movie. I like that movie.
I liked Running Man. And then you could do the Running Man like this.
Are you surprised you haven't heard? Is there like a celebrity that you feel like you haven't seen been outed or accused yet of all this mess that's been going on?
No, but I'm still thinking about what you told me today about how office Christmas parties are starting to dissolve because people are afraid to drink any alcohol and accidentally touch someone and get accused of something.
Yeah, well, just think about it. This climate. I mean, in an office setting, I did work for a company that would have after-hours get-togethers like that, and alcohol would be involved. And I've heard of the past history of some of the get-togethers, very naughty things happening. But in this climate, you just got to be safe, and a lot of men are checking out on this.
I agree with the. Somebody asked you a question in chat. Did you hear that the Nintendo Classic is going for $13,000 on eBay?
That, if somebody buys it, they're a fool. I mean, it's stupid that these things have gone up. The Nintendo Classic is going to be coming back out the early part of 2018, this coming year. They're re-releasing it, and so it'll be interesting to see what these things go for after they come out. I don't know if it's a limited supply or whatever, but they're going to have a batch of them, and of course, I'm sure it'll be hard to find. But I got to be honest with you folks. I ended up buying a kind of a knockoff, if you will, that has 600 games, and sometime soon I'll be getting it. And it has a lot of the games that are on the Classic, but it has so many more games on it. And I think at some point, I'll take pictures and we'll talk about it, and it'll be cool. And hopefully I can do a video, and both Solana and I can add to our 2-bit gamers that we've been lacking.
Yes.
I know that lately I've been buying up a few games recently, and I was going to start doing some recording, and so we can put some more of these 2-bit gamer shows out there. So Solana, I didn't want to get too far ahead because run out of time. I do have to bring the goat out. Okay, so this is the segment when something has got my goat. All right, ladies and gentlemen, in our neighborhood, we're switching to what is called city drainage. And before, what that means is we've had like ditches where the water would go into a ditch and then it would roll downhill to a certain point and take the water out of here. But, our city's trying to raise money, and the only way it could do by that
taxing drainage.
Taxing and drainage. So it's ripping our roads up and putting in. Now, I don't have a problem with that because we're going to have some nice roads, and
it means the streets will flood and not the house.
Yeah, exactly. When we were talking about the hurricane, it came within 4 inches of our door. That's how close it came. But we've always been fortunate with weather and rain like this. But I digress. So as they're tearing up our streets, they moved our mailboxes back. I'd say about 10, 15 feet, and all of a sudden, we didn't get any mail, and I've been waiting, and all of a sudden I decided, you know what, I'm going to call the United States Post Office Service. And sure enough, I get a hold of somebody at our local post office, and they say, yeah, we've stopped service out there because it's too dangerous to deliver. And I said, what? What are you talking about? And they said, yeah, we just can't, it's just too dangerous. There is nothing dangerous. We have trucks that come down here to pick up our trash. We've seen many UPS trucks come out here. I haven't seen a FedEx, but mostly it's UPSs for deliveries. And just today...
Nothing stops UPS.
Yeah, nothing stops UPS. And then today, I saw a mail truck coming in our neighborhood delivering some mail. So it really just kind of blew my mind because I felt like, they should be able to deliver, and they hadn't. And so I digressed to a point where, okay, so our mail service, the post office that is only open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. They're not open Saturday. And I can understand Sunday. Most post offices are not open Sunday. But Saturday, at least half a day, they should be open. And my thought was, they should at least be open because they're not paying anybody to deliver our mail. So they could use that manpower to fill that post office so we could actually get our mail, and instead of having to break our necks to try to go during lunch or try to rush home early to get our mail. So anyway, that's my goat, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, Solana, so we're at the bottom of the hour, so let's take our break, and when we come back, we will have Patrick-Sporer, friend of the show, and I can't wait to talk to him.
are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lotta.
Patrick-Sporer has been a precognitive, clairvoyant dreamer and an intuitive since childhood. It is possible this ability may have been triggered by a head-neck accident which coincided with contact with an otherworldly being. He has been recording his dreams and studying them for over 35 years. He has discovered that his dreams provide previews of all sorts of the future events that come before him. Since 2007, he has been posting his dreams and repetition phenomenon to his Dream Cognition Experiment blog, posted with date and time before all events occur. This has resulted in stunning news and Florida Lotto Jackpot combo results with consistency. I would like you to please welcome Megatime friend of the show, Patrick-Sporer. Hello, Patrick.
Hey, guys. want to say hi to all your space cadets, and I'm looking at everybody on your chat right now.
He's watching you, everybody.
Patrick's always watching.
Season's greetings. Yeah, season's greetings to all the space cadets, and hope everybody's well and enjoying this Mercury retrograde we're going through right now. In addition, I want to say hello to your PA UK fans.
Oh, well, yes.
Tune into your show. I have a lot of European fans myself, so hopefully, and I noticed there were a lot of hits when I posted I was going to be on your show. So a lot of those people will tune in sometimes. They'll go to the archives. Sometimes it's the time variation when I'm on the show versus, you know how that all works out.
Sure.
But hopefully a lot of your PA UK fans will tune in on the rebroadcast this Tuesday night as well.
Yes, we definitely get a following from them, and we love being on the PA UK radio network.
Indeed, I second that.
Yeah. Oh, and thank you for the nice opening there. That was perfect.
Well, I finally managed to wig my way through a bio intro, but yeah, it's I feel like man, we've just known each other forever and a day.
Practice makes perfect.
Yeah, and I figured I'd have to steal this one from Sirlana and actually introduce you, and because I don't mind saying it, we love you, Patrick, and anytime we get the chance to talk to you on air or off air, it's always a treat.
And I'm sorry we haven't been in contact. He and I have just been in kind of like some kind of little slump, We've just been kind of like keeping to ourselves,
Sure.
Nothing anybody did.
It's basically
year,
as
I
described, Sirlana, is that we
just kind of down.
Get into this loop. You get up, go to work, come home, and it's like dinner. By the time you eat dinner, it's time to go to bed, and then before you know it, here it is. It's Saturday, and like, do we have a show today?
Yeah.
But I
know. Hey guys, I know the feeling. I ran a business for many years, and there were times I asked myself, why do I keep doing this? What am I doing? And when I promoted those shows, it's just like you guys doing a show. I would go every year. Oh no, here comes this show again. I got to do it again. And, but I'm retired from all that now, and I'm semi-enjoying my life. We still, even when you're retired, there's still a lot of things when you own a home, as you guys know, as homeowners, that you got to do and take care of, and then just daily stuff and health-related stuff and all that. Yeah, and again, as I said when I was talking to you guys off camera there, that I'm dealing with a little congestion, so I want to apologize to your listeners and to your chat if I sound a little raspy or hoarse or something like that.
Blame it on retrograde, huh?
Yeah, possibly. I haven't had anything like this in years, and and the weird thing is I don't even hang around a lot of people. So when I contracted whatever it was, it's sort of a cold. I thought to myself, we're must have been at the grocery store, just standing next to somebody when you were checking out or something. It shows you how lethal germs can be.
It's funny you bring that up because I at times get a little paranoid when I see somebody that doesn't look quite well, and because I don't usually get sick myself, but when I do, Patrick, it's like hell freezes over, and it's like the end of the world because I get violently sick, but then I get better, and then we go on with life, kind of thing.
Yep, and sometimes it kind of cleanses your body too, so maybe there's a good aspect to that all. But when we were off camera there, I was telling you that I watched Logan prior to coming on the show, and I was thinking, wow, what did you guys think of that film?
I have not seen it yet.
We own it, so it's kind of like Sirlana has the ability to pull from the library, but I can, as an expert, tell you, expert watcher, I enjoyed it. Now, the thing is, it takes place in the future. So, one could say that, even though he's dead in this movie, and I don't think it's too much to spoil it here, or it seems like he's dead in this movie, he could theoretically come back as something else, So, I thought it was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I did too. It was very touching. And there's a setup, of course, at the end. We don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it. But, yeah, well, anyway, the thing I was saying is that when he was being interviewed on Jimmy Fallon and Hugh Jackman the other night, he said it was 17 years ago that he started the Wolverine. And I started thinking, has it been 17 years? And I said, that was right. It was the year 2000 when the first X-Men came out, right?
Mm-hmm. Somewhere around that time, yeah.
Yeah. Just incredible. And then I was talking to you guys. I was on your show exactly a year ago this same weekend, and I had watched the Leonard Nimoy documentary prior to being on the show, and I was thinking, man, that was a year ago. It's just flying, guys. It's just zooming by. 2017 has been a rough year for a lot of people.
For Houston.
Well, I mean, Houston, look at California right now.
With up in flames right now.
Unbelievable fires, and this is happening during a Mercury retrograde phase, which is notorious for historical natural disasters to occur. It is just out. It's just. I mean, there are people I know and people here that said that their family members and relatives have lost their homes. And when you see this stuff on TV, and just like you guys went through the hurricane, you went through Hurricane Harvey, which devastated that area. But when you're at home watching it in a safe place from the news, a lot of times I think people have this disconnection that, it's like a movie or it's something like that. And you hear all these people tell these very sad stories about how they've lost everything, and that's such a reality. That is so, a true thing that has happened to so many people in 2017. They have literally lost everything that they owned and had for years and years and years.
Yeah, I mean, it was, it really kind of puts it in perspective, especially here being in Houston, the loss and the devastation that we saw here. But I was really kind of thankful to see the spirit of Houstonians.
Oh my gosh, the way people acted here is like the best of humanity that you could hope for.
I mean, because up to that point, you'd seen many situations where people were, at each other's throat. I mean, in other cities. And, just different things, and just negativity. But once things happened here, and
everybody rolled up their sleeves and got down to business helping.
I mean, even business owners like Mattress Mac, who has a furniture store here, went out of his way to help the community. And he's, had done that many times, but he's proved it once again what a benefit he is to the community. And you got to give props to J.J. Watt to raising all that money, for the cause. So from that angle, it was great to see the true spirit of Houston and Texans in general. And then we got to thank our families from Louisiana that came over here with the Cajun Navy to help out. And I mean, that's
because we helped them.
Yeah, it kind of goes back and forth. Houston always helps people in Louisiana and vice versa.
Well, we're neighbors.
Yeah, we're neighbors, but it's that spirit. It's always nice to see that, really fills my heart, and I can't say enough about it. But yeah, it's good to see. Yeah,
and interesting, Hurricane Harvey and Irma both happened during a Mercury retrograde phase as well. But anyway, we're in that phase right now.
In the face right now.
We're in that phase right now, and it's going to last till New Year's Eve.
No, Patrick, no.
Well, I mean, it's going to affect everybody differently, but I send on my blog. I have a special post that I make that called Mercury Retrograde Headlines, and those are very popular. People love reading those things. And there's such a consistency, but I remind everybody, things happen all the time. During a Mercury retrograde, they seem to intensify and multiply, especially in the freak accident or natural disaster and active shooter scenarios. Mm-hmm. But anyway, enough of that, and I want to pose a question to you guys, and of course, your space cadets that are tuning in tonight. Do you feel life is predestined, or it's all just random?
That's a good question. Mm-hmm. Depending on how, I've read many things. I really like the theory that we're living in a matrix type universe. It's holographic in nature. That it's kind of like it's kind of pre-programmed, if you will, which leads to: do we have free will? Do we have the ability to make a choice and feel like it's our own choice. So, it's one of those questions that I think about daily.
I feel like I've been locked into a pattern of living, and that in a way kind of has its own destination, self-fulfilling, destiny. But I could do something to change that up. I mean,
break the cycle.
I could try. I can break the cycle of my own free will. I could get in the car, drive to Mexico, and never come back. That wouldn't be a good idea, but I could do something. Otherwise, it does feel like I'm just hurtling toward an inevitable nothing. So don't look at me like that.
I'm looking at
it's looking at me.
Well,
I have this theory. I have a lot of theories, as you guys well know.
Sure.
But this, and because of this incredible experience that I've had, that I've been having since I was a child, I lean more towards the predestination than I do everything is random. Now, I have a lot of evidence to back that up as well, and I'm not going to tell you I'm 100% there, but I'm pretty 99.9% sure that it really, and here's the really funny thing. I have, and I'm sure there's people, your space cadets, and probably people on the PAUK network are familiar with self-help gurus. And some of these evangelical major preachers like you have there in the Houston area didn't open his doors for the...
Oh,
yeah, I knew you're going there.
Man, I tried to be nice. I didn't go down that route. But
his name is Mud. I'll tell you.
Right, well, we don't need to cover it. But anyway, I've watched these people for years, and I know they're major self-motivational, and they use forms of hypnosis, and they use a lot of different things. And I went to one just as a experiment because I wanted to see who these famous people were. I don't want to tell you the person I went to see.
Okay.
It didn't cost me anything, but I watched what went on there, and I said I will never, ever go to another one of these things. And here's what's so strange. In the 90s, actually in the late 80s and late 90s is when I started studying these people saying that you can manifest anything with your thoughts and whatever you're doing and all this stuff. Now, see, what's happened is the millennials are not buying into this stuff. And now these same self-help gurus are saying, well, if it's in your destiny pattern, where they never said that before. They were convincing all these people that you could do, all this stuff, Now they're saying if you have grace, or if it's in your destiny pattern. And I think it's very funny because they, like churches, they've been losing people going to these things for a long time. And then, you remember the book The Secret that came out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, one of the proponents of that ended up in prison, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, and they did a documentary on him, I watched it. He ended up going to prison because they had sweat lodges at one of his big seminars, and a couple of people died because he basically talked them into doing it and kept saying, "Oh, you got to stay here, you got to stay in here. This is how you cleanse yourself." And he ended up having to go to prison for that. The question was, if you can manifest whatever you want, why did that happen to him? See. And so a lot of people, when they looked at that, they started thinking to themselves, well, it was sort of hypocritical, right? That here you are preaching, telling everybody you can manifest whatever you want, and then suddenly you end up in prison.
Don't practice what you preach.
Right, and now we're watching major karma play out in this sex scandal stuff that's everywhere. So anyway, the reason I asked the question, of course, is because I have a number of things I want to share with your space cadets and your PAUK followers to show people that I the reason I lean more towards this type of belief. And you guys know, and you've read some of my stuff. I know you don't have time to read it all, but here's what I'll say in theory. I believe we're born with two types of DNA. We have a cosmic DNA, which is what you're born to become. Then you have your physical DNA that enables you to complete that mission. I know some people may say, well, maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't. But to me, it sort of makes sense because it's just like somebody that's born to be a great athlete. We see this all the time with little kids. And if you ever watch any of these shows where these children have these phenomenal talents, you have to really think they were born to do that because a lot of them have had no form of training. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's like your ability, Space Boy. You're really good at your music. Just because you may not be famous doesn't mean you're not good at it. But in our society, we have a tendency to get down on ourselves if the thing that we do, there aren't millions of people listening or reading or doing it. We make the mistake of gauging our success by the 1%ers in our world.
Yes.
And that's a mistake. I think that's a great mistake. My brother was a good musician, had an opportunity to go big time, and through a weird turn of events, that did not happen. But I remember when we were kids, he had a natural affinity for music and art and had no formal training. And I'll be willing to bet you've had very little formal training for your music ability.
Just what I've gotten in public school. I mean, nothing. I wasn't sent to a piano teacher or, but yeah, I have no formal training other than school, And
the way you do music now is completely self-taught.
Yeah, it's self-taught. I'm learning new stuff every day.
Right, but I can't do that. Sirlana probably can't do that, right? And probably most of your space cadets, probably don't have that capability within themselves.
All fairness, Sirlana plays a mean piano if you're standing on the other side of a door.
Hey, I play a mean radio.
I've done that.
I play a mean radio. I just flip the radio on. I play that real well. But so anyway, this is what I'm talking about. There are people that apparently are just born to be incredible at what they do. Now, some of those people are discovered, and they turn it into a career. And the mistake we make, again, is that we look up to 1%ers a little too much as know-all, see-all people, which they're not. They're really good at what they do, and then people are, with their publicists and managers and agents and everybody behind them, help convince the world that they're a lot more than they really are. And now what are we seeing with these sex scandals? We're seeing powerful men, wealthy, powerful, famous men being brought down by a basic common denominator. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to watch all this play out. But back to what I was saying. So this is sort of, maybe it was fated for them to have to go through this whole scenario that they did to end up this way.
But has it created a culture of paranoia where I think it's a good policy. Just don't touch anybody for any reason unless you know them or something. But it seems like it's almost like a witch hunt now.
Well, but only if there's big money involved.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because there's people, and I can tell you from some of my friends out there in Los Angeles, there are so many people getting rich right now under the table because so many people are scurrying around paying people off millions of dollars. There are people becoming instant millionaires because of these sex scandals, because so many people don't want this, to end up like Harvey Weinstein and James Toback and Matt Lauer and all these other people.
Yeah, just to pay to get it away. Just, right. Here, we'll give you this money, just, but as a deal, you have to just keep your mouth shut for accepting this money.
It's almost, I equate it to the BP oil spill. There were people lining up for money, as you guys, you're well aware what the BP oil spill did.
Mm-hmm.
There were people lining up for money here, and they were just writing checks to anybody for the longest time. And I see this the very same way with this sex scandal. There are people that are making lots of money that we'll never hear about because of what these discrepancies that all these powerful people have had. And it's not just females, it's males too that have been exploited. But in a way, it's interesting to watch how this karmic wheel that these men never would have thought, never in their mind did they ever think anything like this would happen to them. Mm-hmm. So if they're in such control of their life, and this is a great example, if they're in such control of their life, with all their wealth and all their power and all their fame, why did this stuff happen to them?
Yes. How did they keep it quiet so long? What was the thing that blew it out?
Well, Ronan Farrow should have been on the cover of Time magazine, as far as I'm concerned, because it was really him who lit the fire. I was really surprised that he's not getting more credit for exposing and creating this domino effect of things. But for whatever reason, any of us could be called something because of somebody's perception, like Solano, what you were saying. And I'm really glad I'm not in business anymore, because I was in an environment where fitness. I knew Leanne Tweet, who outed Senator Franken. I met her through. She was a fitness model before she became all these other things. And she was at a lot of these shows. She was a very nice person. Like, now at those shows, at these fitness expos and these bodybuilding expos, people don't wear much, much clothing. Right. It's a very revealing type of sport. Mm-hmm. And she was never a flirtatious. She was always professional. For whatever reason, she came out, to out Al Franken. I'm sure that there is some political possibility for that, but trust me, there's going to be a lot more of this and a lot more of this and a lot more of this. This isn't going to end for some time. But for people like you and I, be glad we're not rich and famous, because we could easily be targets from something 10 years ago that we didn't think was inappropriate, because it just seemed like it was just there. And that could happen to a man or a woman. This is, the people that need to be concerned about this, of course, are very wealthy, powerful, famous people.
Well, we're definitely not. We're only wealthy in spirit.
Yeah.
Just that's a message going out to everyone.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having money. There's nothing wrong with being well off. But we're talking about people who have so much money. It's just unbelievable amount of wealth these people own. 40% of the money in this country is owned by the 1%ers. Mm-hmm. That's a scary thought. It's a scary thought. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. The reason I posed the question, do you feel life is predestined or fate, is because if we look around, it's just like nobody in Texas or Houston invited or manifested Hurricane Harvey. Nobody in Florida and the Caribbean and everywhere else manifested Hurricane Irma and all these other natural disasters and fires and everything else. And for somebody to even suggest that, people are being punished for this, or this happened here because of your sexuality or something, it's ludicrous. But people have a tendency to do that stuff. But I don't want to get off point. This is always interesting talking to you guys about these various subjects. But back to what I was saying. Okay, I recently shot a video. I briefly mentioned an email to you guys about one of my recent Lotto Jackpots that was connected to Robert Downey Jr. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a perfect example, and using the Lotto is so fantastic for precognition, because, you hear so many people, you've heard, so many talk show hosts joke about psychics and say, well, can you predict the Lotto numbers? And all of them say, no, nobody can do that. Well, you guys know I can do that. There's no doubt that it's done on a regular basis all the time. It doesn't matter whether I play all the time or not. What matters is those numbers are a future event. They are a fixed future event, and it's going to manifest into reality. And with the Robert Downey Jr. video that I did, it was what I call a one-take low production value video. I managed to get my little flip minnow camera working again. It didn't work for a long time, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I went on YouTube, and I saw somebody said, oh, just stick a pin here in the bottom of it, and you'll reset it. And sure enough, it started working. So I said, well, I'm going to shoot these. I've held on to these winning tickets since June, and they're going to expire soon. So I said, well, if I'm going to shoot some video, I better do it now. Mm-hmm. Do we need to take a break?
I was going to say, we're up against the hour, and so hold there, Patrick. So when we return, we'll have more Patrick-Sporer. We'll have some angst between Spaceboy and Solana. But in the end, it's all good. So don't touch that dial.
I need a drink.
Hey, you're listening to PAUK Radio Network right here with Spaceboy Universe with Spaceboy and Solana. My God, Solana. You know you're not supposed to eat crackers during the show. I know, but you could have gotten a slice of bread or something. At least that's softer and...
It's so boring.
Anyway, we're back. We're back with the lovely Solana plugging Triscuits, not a sponsor. And on the phone we have our wonderful Patrick-Sporer, a long time part of the show, and
friend
of the show, and
we
confidant.
Think he's still a friend.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. But Patrick, you want to take it up where we left off right before the break?
Sure. Yeah, I was talking about how I'm trying to shoot video now of some of the dream results, particularly the Lotto results, because those are very popular on my blog. And I recently shot one of Robert Downey Jr. Now, I had this dream on May 31st of Robert Downey Jr. And anybody can go on the blog and verify this stuff and fact check it. There's definitely no hoax going on here. All this stuff is posted in advance with time and date. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what a lot of people appreciate, and they always come back to look for the results. So this ticket, I got the camera working, and these tickets were about to expire. So I shot this one video, and I didn't even put it on YouTube yet. I just posted it on the blog, and a lot of people have clicked on it and watched it. And I sent it to my private group as well. Now, it's not high quality. It's low production value, but the audio is very good on it, and the general explanation of how these things happen. But it's a great example of a dream, a precognitive dream, revealing lotto numbers in the strange way that it does, and then the outcome. Now, the dream was on May 31st, 2017. The very next day, less than 24 hours later, his birthday digits, 404, because he's born on April 4th, came in on the Florida Lotto Pick 3 midday game. I held 3 tickets, $3.50, and it was a very good jackpot for that amount of money. Now, again, think about that. Think about the odds. Now, this isn't something that happens every once in a blue moon. You guys are aware of that. As many times as I've been on your show and I've shared this information. And also, I've talked about this on our very good friend Solaris Blue Raven show. How these, the numbers and all these things are continual. So I made a video of that, and I'm making another video. I've done a couple of takes. I do these in one take, but I do a couple of trial takes. And this was a dream I had on June 22nd. Are you guys familiar with Mark Consuelos?
Yes. Yes, he's married to Kelly Ripa, right?
He's married to Kelly Ripa, correct. And he's an actor as well. Well, I had a dream about the two of them on June 22nd. I posted that dream the morning of June 22nd, and I started looking at Mark Consuelos' numbers. Now, I know I make it sound like it's ABC, but actually there's a little bit of research that needs to be done prior to my decision to play these numbers. Now, I am taking a very different approach now than when I originally started playing back in 2011, when I discovered that the dreams were connected to the lotto. And that was by accident. That was because I was sitting here thinking, some of these dreams about these celebrities and people I know, I'm not getting any information. Something's not right. So I just, a little voice in my head said, hey, check them against the Florida Lotto, see if there's some connection there. And that's what I did, and then suddenly made this incredible discovery. Now, I was so hell-bent on proving to people that my dreams were connected to the lotto that I went about playing more of a shotgun method, covering a number of bases on numbers and everything else. And I was winning stuff left and right. I did really well. And I have the 1099s from the Florida Lotto office to prove it. I have my tax returns and everything else. So, I do everything I can to convince people outside of taking a polygraph test, which I'd be willing to do on these numbers as well, to prove to people how real this experience is. So now we get back to Mark Consuelos. So I had the dream on June 22nd, the morning of June 22nd. I always try to post everything before midday, the Florida Lotto midday draw time, because there's 2 draws. There's a midday and there's an evening. I believe it's the same way in Texas, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think there's 3 times for Texas: morning, afternoon, and then in the evening.
Okay. Well, in Florida we have 2. I liked it better when it was 1. When it was 1, I did much better. But the thing with 2 now, I have to go in there and do a little more research. So Mark Consuelos' birthday is March 30th, 330. Now, in addition, I make a card, and on that card I put his birthday, his birth year, and then I look back 2 years on the Florida Lotto archives to see what came in on the Florida Lotto Pick 3, Pick 4 games. So all those I've discovered are eligible. It rarely goes beyond the last 2 years. But in this case, in this particular case, I researched his birthday because I can go and look, and I can look at how many times it came on midday, how many times it came in the evening, how many times it came in on this year versus last year. And it's allowed me to pinpoint these numbers. Now, listen to this, guys. 7 hours later on the evening game, those digits 330 came in. 7 hours after the dream. I played 3 tickets for $3 and won another really nice thing. Now, I'm not promoting gambling. I'm saying I'm using this as a tool to prove precognition is real. And again, as you know, I've stated many times that This isn't once in a while. This is every single day, although I don't play every day. I'm not a gambler by nature. It's not my nature to be a Las Vegas-type gambler. But these were a very calculated type of form of, for lack of a better word, gambling, if you want to call it that. And I have not lost any money. I have consistently won money doing this. But I do not play every day anymore. Back when I first started to prove this, I was playing on a regular basis. I was driving around town. I was looking at the time of day. It was just a lot. It was a lot of work, but it paid off for me. Now I'm working more on this pinpoint. Now look, here's the other thing I want to explain. And I'm going to tell you this other story here in a second that you'll find very fascinating because it's connected to the Mark Consuelos. But anyway, the Mark Consuelos dream produced a jackpot in 7 hours, guys. Can you believe that?
That's impressive.
Well, the thing is, it was posted before it happened. So I have the tickets right over here. I'm going to work on the video tomorrow before I post it. If you guys want to see these videos, I'll send them forward to you.
Oh, most definitely.
If you think they're
Please do.
useful, you might be able to give me some tips. But
Okay.
so yeah, well, you might be able to give me some tips on how to make. I don't know how I can make the video any better the way I'm doing it, but because I'm one of these people. I got to do it quick, and I got to get it on the blog quick, so I don't have a lot of time for editing and
You're pressed for time because I can only imagine that once you have the dream, you want to put it out there as soon as possible so that it's recognized that you had the dream prior to the actual event happening.
Absolutely. That is the whole point. Is that I have to. Everything has to be speed. Now I have a good friend. He's like yourself, very tech savvy and everything else. And he's offered. He said, "Hey, if you want to shoot some videos," and I said, "Yeah, but the problem is I don't have the time to do all the editing and add music." He said, "Well, you could really dress these up nice." And I said, "Well," I'll think about that. But for now, things speed. I need these things. And so if it's a little crude, it's a little low production value. Most people that are reading these things are not really concerned because of the content. You and I talked about that one time before, how important content is. So here we go. Now listen to this. Solana, you'll like this. So I mentioned before on your shows that I dream about a lot of people. I dream about celebrities. I dream about you guys. I've sent you the dreams.
Yes.
But that doesn't always mean that the dream, because the way the last one read that you guys are in, that means that that's going to happen like the dream. You guys were, fragments, as I call it, and numbers from Solana's birth information came in, and then yours came in shortly after that. And here's what's fascinating. Before I go to this other story, Solana, you had a group of numbers that came in on your birthday this past year, which is April 18th, correct?
Yes.
Space Boy had the same digits come in on his birthday.
Wow.
What are the odds of that?
You know about 418 or 1118?
Well,
on both. Your birthday and his birthday.
Weird.
These same digits came in. I have to find the cards, and I found it so fascinating. I meant to pull them out tonight, and I didn't do that. I have them over in my card catalog here. But when I looked at it, I said, "Look at that! They're a married couple, and the same digits came in on her birthday that came in on Space Boy's birthday." Fascinating, just fascinating. But anyway, this one I'm about to tell you, you're going to love. So, in addition to dreaming about celebrities and dreaming about people I know, for some reason, my subconscious will conjure up former girlfriends. And there's one particular girlfriend. This was my last girlfriend, and I'll refer to her by her initials, DK. Almost 50 dreams out of 50 dreams since 2016 have produced very quick jackpots. Okay, so now I want to clarify something for your Space Cadets and your PAUK listeners. What I'm doing now is I'm looking at individuals who I dream about and celebrities who have the shortest time frame to jackpots. Now that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying when I say that?
Yeah,
yes.
from the moment you notice
in
till
other words,
it happens.
Right. In other words, the ones that produce them within hours to a couple of days. See, once I can narrow that down, I can narrow more stuff down by the research that I've done. Now, hopefully one day I can shoot a video on how to do the research and my clipboards. And on the Robert Downey Jr., I showed some of these boards where I have all these numbers of birthdays listed on, in this room here. It was like my war room,
Mm-hmm.
I call it. So anyway, I have a dream about DK on December 7th, which is 2 days ago, right?
Okay.
December 7th. In that dream, she's sitting at a desk. It looks like a home office. I can't see myself, but I can hear my voice talking to her, just like it's reality, just like we're talking right now. Now, I notice at the desk, she has an old school vintage computer, the old big, like from the early 90s, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Computer screen. And I asked her in the dream, I said, hey, now her daughter's name is Paula. And I said, hey, is Paula 16 or 17 now? And she kind of cocked her head and said, she's older than that. So I started thinking, okay, I had to write down 16, 17. That's a fragment. I have to think of the computer as a fragment. DK is a fragment. Paula is a fragment. So here's the thing. So I posted dreams about DK and Paula 2 days ago. 2 days ago. All right. Now, before I go into any more else, here's the other thing that happened. After I asked her about Paula's age, and she told me, you're being silly, she's older than that, which she is. She's in her late 20s now, has kids and everything. But for some reason in the dream. So DK gets up and walks away from the console. Now, suddenly, I zoom in on the console. Now, I don't see myself doing it. It's like my vision zooms in, like a point of view. Do you follow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. I hope your space cadets are keeping up with me here. So anyway, I look at the screen, and there is a list of people in that old amber style, that used to be on those computers.
Yeah, monochromed, amber.
Yeah. And there's a list of people there with the last name Meyer, Meyer. And I thought to myself, why is she looking at all these names? Now, I didn't see any first names. I just saw in big letters, Meyer. It must have been a dozen of them. And then it sort of scrolled, and there were more Meyers. I thought, well, what is she looking for? So keep that in mind, Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have the dreams, right, on, very important, 2 days ago, December 7th. Okay, we have the Meyer fragment, right? Okay, so that afternoon, I spontaneously, I go out and I said, I'm going to go to the post office because I want to check my mail. And then a series of other twists and turns, I end up at Walgreens, of all places. And I think, well, what am I going in here for? The minute I walk in the door, the pharmacy intercom says, Meyer, your prescription is ready.
Oh, God, that's freaky.
Okay, now that doesn't mean that's the answer
The end
to
of
the
it,
dream. Yeah. So I noted that because I do repetition phenomena.
Right.
So the space cadets are way ahead of me. Somebody here says that's very funny. Good. I'm glad they are. Okay, so now let's flash forward to today. So the evening game. So tonight, the Pick 4 jackpot, Florida Lotto Jackpot, is connected to DK. The Pick 3 Lotto Jackpot is connected to Paula, whose birthday is the same as Mark Consuelos of 330, who I was making the video of this morning. What are the odds, guys?
Well, it's
2 days.
Shocking.
I think it'd be fun to have stuff like this happen to you every day or every other day. I just
I
don't notice stuff like that.
And how many times have I always said, "Hey, did you see that midget wrestling lady of the night on the corner that we just passed?" And you go, "What? I didn't see nothing." You're just not observant.
No, I'm not.
And I think
I'm lost in my world.
And I think on my end, I'm more like, I think my cycle of perception it needs to be tuned. I think I could probably get to the point where you're doing all this, Patrick, and I think I'm just out of tune. I'm out of whack with the universe when it comes to these things.
Well, but you use it for your music.
Oh, well, that is true. I had to. Yeah. I guess I apply my skill in a different sense.
Oh, absolutely. We all do. Everybody has these things happen. It's just that I keep track of it all the time. This is what I do now in my retirement, and it is fun, but sometimes it's a little depressing too, because of the fact that I lean more towards the predestination factor.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's continue here. So DK produces a Pick 4 jackpot from her October 6th, 2016 birthday, and actually those were the 4 digits I had circled to play. The exact digits from all those choices, I said those are going to hit. I thought they would hit on the midday game because the last 2 times those digits came in on the evening game. And they only hit twice in 2017, so I said the odds are real good. Now, Paula, I wasn't sure about. I was looking at another digit, but when I saw the 330 came in, which is her exact birthday, I started laughing because I was doing the Mark Consuelos video from last June when I won on his birthday of 330. Isn't that just incredible, just fascinating?
It is fascinating.
The thing is that,
and that
it's
you're documenting it too.
Yeah, I was going to say it's fascinating in the sense of this situation, but the consistency that we see from you, Patrick, time and time again, is just, it blows your mind when you see that this happen on a regular basis, that you call these numbers or you call events out. So I mean, from that is just a fascinating story to hear altogether.
Now, you'll like this even better.
What? It's something even better?
Well, this is connected. This afternoon, I was in the middle of watching a movie, a 70s movie, because I love to watch 70s movies. I recorded it off Turner Classic.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to watch Today. Then I said, well, it's going to get dark. And it's really cold here, guys, from Florida. We're in the 30s. We're going down in the 30s tonight. Yeah. And I said, well, I want to go before the sun gets down because I don't like being out in the windy cold anymore. I can't handle the weather the way I used to. So I left the house about 3:40. Now, I combat park. Do you know what combat parking is? When you back in.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, combat. I learned this in the military.
I never heard of that expression.
Well, it's called combat parking when you back into your garage as opposed to pulling into your garage.
Okay.
In other words, your headlights face out.
Okay.
And the reason I do it because I live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of little kids, there's animals. I always tell people, I read these stories about children being run over by their own parents because the kids are playing behind the car.
Right.
And people back over them. So I've always, and I noticed other people in the neighborhood started parking like I did when they started noticing, and they asked me, why do you do that? I said, well, because I have a clear view if some small child or an animal or something wanders onto my carport. They said, we never even thought about that. And I said, well, that's the motivation behind it. And I said, I learned to do it years ago. You'll notice people from the military and in the police that are policemen usually park like that. So anyway, the interesting thing is I pull out on my carport and I stop. And then for some reason I glance to my left. When I glance to my left, there is a van, a white van, about 40 yards down the street at an angle, and on the side of the van is the name of the business, Meyer, M-E-Y-E-R. Did I tell you it got better?
Yeah, it did get better.
Yeah. Now, the question is, was the inner guide, the subconscious, trying to tell me, pay attention to DK and Paula's numbers, because you're looking at Meyer again, which was from that same December 7th dream? Or is it another clue that something about her connected to the name Meyer, M-E-Y-E-R, is going to become newsworthy? Now, I have relatives with that last name, so it's a possibility that I'll be hearing some news about that. I have an aunt that's very elderly, my father's sister, and maybe she's going to pass on. It's a possibility. I mean, I'm not hoping she will, but it's a possibility that it's connected to that. Now, remember, there was a series of Meyers on that computer screen in the dream. So maybe we're going to hear about more than one person with that last name in some way, shape, fashion, or form. Now,
Patrick, do you ever get these things and they don't manifest, or if they don't manifest for a while, you never figure out what the purpose was or the meaning? Do you ever get frustrated, or does it all eventually work itself out?
Well, Solana, here's what I do know. As I told Solaris, I know for a fact that it's going to be one of two things. Now, it could be other things, but I know it's going to be one of two things. I know that when I dream about a celebrity or I dream about somebody I know, that it's going to be Florida Lotto connected, pick 3, pick 4 games. Not the Super Lotto, not the Powerball, not the Fantasy Fives. Now, it's very possible. And a friend said, "Well, maybe you should probe into that." I said, "Well, I got my hands full now. I'm not sure how much further I can go with this. Sometimes I have to just take breaks. You know how you guys are. You got to take a break from stuff sometimes."
Oh yeah.
So, and I even have to take a break from this because it gets a little overwhelming. As much as I enjoy talking about it, there's just times where I just have to veg out and watch movies or watch Netflix.
Absolutely.
And just relax. I just have to relax from it. But yeah. So I know it's going to be one of two things. I know it's going to be Florida Lotto connected, or it's going to be significant news, or what I call high-profile news, not run-of-the-mill stuff. And then on some occasions, I'll dream about people, and then I'll run into them at the store. I mean, within a couple hours. I'll see them at the store, and I'll say, well, maybe that's the end of that. So I know it's one of two things. But what you're saying is how I discovered, if you recall, a few moments ago, I mentioned that the way I discovered that the Florida Lotto was connected to my dreams was basically I was sitting there one day thinking, some of these things don't appear to be manifest. Some of these dreams don't appear to be manifest. And so there's got to be another thing. And that's when the light went off in my head and said, Florida Lotto. Now, I had been using the repetition phenomena or the quick glancing phenomena to win on the lotto before this. And my last girlfriend and her daughter saw me do this on a regular basis. And I would tell them to play, and it's like anything else. You tell people to do something, and they say, okay, I'm going to do it, and then they hesitate. And then they hesitate again, and they hesitate again. No matter how many times I do it, it's just hesitation. I even have a private list of people, as you well know, that I send these to, and I make suggestions to them all the time. Here's the big problem for a lot of people. Impatience. They want instant gratification. They want me to guarantee them they're going to win, and I say, I can't do that. I said, I'm not that good yet. I said, I don't want to promote you to gamble unless I can help you pinpoint these numbers. I don't recommend you do what I am doing, but I do recommend that you listen to that little inner voice that all of us have. Every single person on this planet, including animals, have this sixth sense. And again, Spaceport, the question you asked was so important. Do we need to take another break before I continue?
We're getting close. I tell you what, we can kind of go ahead and take it earlier, and that way we have a little time on the back end. So, everyone.
Okay, Sir Lana, remind me where I was when we come back.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll be right back after this.
Great.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana.
We have this rule on the show, Sirlana, that, we try not to talk too much during the break. But with Patrick, it's just so hard because, he's just a wealth of information and the relationship we built with him over the years. And it's just, it's hard to break that rule. You know what I mean, Sirlana?
Yes. Well, yeah, we do that with people we don't know too because we're not professional.
But anyway, Patrick's back, and I guess you were supposed to remind him where we're at, or Patrick, do you remember?
Something about you, Spaceboy asked a great question earlier or something, or was important.
Well, yeah, I think in our little chat off screen there, I spaced it out. But
all right, that's fine.
We'll come back around to
Sure.
maybe one of your people in your chat will remember and help me out here. But anyway, what I was saying, I know for a fact that it's going to be one of two things because I've been doing this so long that I know it's going to be the dreams are connected to the Florida Lotto, or it's going to be high profile news. And I think you guys are aware that I have dreams about celebrities.
Right.
Correct?
Oh, yeah.
In fact, Spaceboy and I sort of met because of the death of David Bowie.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you were on a show with Mark Schwartz.
Right.
And I was listening to that show, and I said, Spaceboy. I said, I got to talk to a guy named Spaceboy. and I called in, and you had talked about David Bowie, so I said, Spaceboy and David Bowie, oh, man. I said, I really need to talk to this guy. And I was explaining to you at that time that because the show was on not long after David Bowie died, if I recall. Isn't that right or something like that?
No, it was definitely before. But later on, Bowie passed away. But it seems like forever when I was on that show. But it was like, when I got to talk to you, I initially felt like, man, this guy, I really dig this guy. And I think we ended up reaching out to book you on the show, and it
was a short time after that.
Yeah, it was a short time after that.
Yeah, and David Bowie had just passed. That's what it was. David Bowie had just passed, and you were on. It was January, and he had just passed, and then I was on your show, I think, in February, sort of shortly after that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, 6 months prior to that, the death of David Bowie, I had the dream where. In that dream, I was sitting around with a group of people I didn't know, and a news flash came over a TV we were watching about David Bowie passing on. And I remember posting in that dream, well, there's a possibility that he will, but I said dreams are fragmented, so I said I'm not going to tell everybody he is going to pass away, but it's very possible that he could. And 6 months after that dream, he did. Now, this isn't a once-in-a-blue-moon thing. I did the same thing with Joe Cocker, Christopher Lee. All these people died within very short time frames after dreams about them. Now, those are, again, Solana, as you know, those are just some examples. There's a lot of others there. Now, I did not get the one on Prince. I thought I had one on Prince, but I couldn't find it. The one of George Michael I had, and that before he passed away, and that really freaked a lot of people out that after they had read that dream. But we lost a lot of interesting people in 2016, and there's been some big names in 2000. I had the Jim Nabors dream. A lot of people clicked on that. I had the Jim Nabors dream prior to him passing. I actually put in there that we could hear some sad news about the passing of Jim Nabors. I've had this happen with individuals that I know as well. And I always, when I have a series of dreams about somebody, I get concerned. And Solana, to answer your question, when something doesn't manifest quickly or it takes a long time and I have a series of dreams about somebody, I get concerned because 99.9% of the time they're going to die or there's a death around them. And sure enough, I'll get confirmation of it or I'll hear about it. Now, there are some people on my private list, a lot of times they don't want to tell me when I'm picking up stuff up. And later on they'll say, hey, here's what you said, and here's what happened, and I was embarrassed to tell you that because I couldn't believe that you picked up on it. And I've done this thing with relatives as well. In fact, I have one of my sisters that really, she's so spooked out by this stuff, she doesn't want any more of the dreams. Because of, I had the premonition prior to my father dying. I had the premonition prior to my mother passing on. My dad passed, I had the premonition that morning and he died that afternoon. Now, he had been sick, but he wasn't projected to pass away. My mother died a week after the premonition of her, and I told my sisters, I said, hey, you really need to tell Mom everything you need to tell her, because I think she's going to pass away. They didn't do it. This is what happens. There's this disconnect. People, it's like this. Well, he was right once. He won't be right a second time.
Mm-hmm.
Or he was right twice, but he surely won't be right a third time.
Like it's a fluke of some kind, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, these people that are on my private list have known me for years. And here's the problem, as you guys well know. Your family members, and your friends will sometimes define who you are to themselves. And there's no changing that. You have to remember, I was a gym owner. I was a guy who went to work every day, unless it was cold, in shorts and a tank top. I was a Magic Mike. This is how people define it. They're saying to themselves, surely this guy can't have this ability to do this. Yet I displayed all of this in my business life and in my entertainment life and everything else to numerous people. I would make predictions on the spot. I one night, my group of guys, we were driving to Pensacola, Florida, and seconds before we got in a car accident, my buddy saw me put my seatbelt on, and he said to himself, "Oh no, we got broadsided." Within seconds after I put my seatbelt on, I was the only one in the car that didn't get hurt, and his van almost got destroyed. We almost ran into one of those cement electrical poles.
Oh wow!
That was in the median, because the car hit us and knocked us into that, and the two guys in the back seat, one guy got a busted nose, and the other guy messed his leg up really bad, and I was the only one. I was shaking. But I was thinking to myself, what made me put that seatbelt on at that very moment? You see? And there's been other things. I remember we were driving down the road one night, and the guys in the group were dejected because very bad weather hurt one of our shows, and we were listening to the ads on the radio about another group that was going to play at this other club, and it seemed like, it just gets, how it is when you're dejected, and it just seems like there's more salt in the wounds. And my buddy didn't want to turn the radio station off because he wanted to hear our ad, and they kept playing the ad of this other club. And I said, guys, don't worry. Don't worry. I said, we're going to do this show, and I said, we're going to get that show because something's going to happen to that group. The very next day, that club owner from that other club called me, got my number, somehow found my phone number through some agency, called me and said, hey, the group I had coming in got snowed in Atlanta. Can you guys come over here and do a show? It was, my guys couldn't believe it. They thought I was joking when I called them. I said, guys, I told you, and this is before cell phones were around. This is back in the olden days where, you had to hustle people up on a hard line. So, this stuff has happened throughout my life. This is not a fluke. And it's not just happening to me. I don't want to try to come off as saying, like a lot of people do, well, I'm the only one that can do this. You guys know I encourage everybody to utilize their subconscious ability, and that sixth sense that everybody has. Everybody has it. There's some people. Oh, I know what we were talking about, Swana. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Well, I was reading your mind just now.
Oh God!
I know we're being a little facetious here. But anyway, we're friends. We can joke about stuff. But the thing is that genetically, what I was going to say is that you have athletes, and then you have superstars, right?
Right.
You look at the NFL, for example, or Major League Baseball or something. These guys are the creme de la creme of athletes, are the ones that were recruited. But then even within the confines of the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball, you have these guys that are called superstars. In other words, if they're not in the game, it's like it appears with some of these NFL teams, if there's not a particular quarterback in the game, they don't seem to do as well, or they don't win. So there's this genetic factor, again, almost like this destiny pattern. And when you look at Hollywood, you look at some of these actors that have been around a long time, and you even hear them on interviews say, I'm just very lucky because there's many more talented people around me than I am. They'll even humble themselves out by saying stuff like that. So yeah, I fall back on this thing that we're all destined for something. I'm not a religious guy, as you well know, and I have my own concept of God, but I don't have a problem with anybody else's belief system, whatever gets them through the day, you know. So I'll never run anybody else down with however they choose to believe, but I don't want anybody to judge me on my belief. I'm basing all my experience on reality, on the reality that I live. This is an everyday thing for me, and it's just fascinating. It's just fascinating, and it just never ceases to amaze me.
Indeed.
Do you want to go over some of my recent posts? That haven't happened yet.
This is Patrick-sporer night.
Tell your audience. Well, I mean, if anybody has any questions, throw them in there in the chat,
Sure.
and then maybe we can go into a little phone call sessions here in your last hour.
Sure.
Okay.
The
okay.
perspective of some of your things that you've posted would, some of the new listening audience, you can kind of, give them a kind of a clue as to some of the things that you've done.
Sure. Well, for instance, I'm looking at my blog right now, and I'm looking at all the page views here and see at night, there's a certain group from Italy I've noticed routinely, just tons of them, around 9:30 at night, my time, which is morning over there. Mm-hmm. It's like they're all synchronized to read this stuff at the same time. I'm thinking it's the Vatican for some reason.
Interesting.
I think it's all those monks or priests or whatever, maybe they're checking it out. But anyway, some of the recent dreams that have not occurred yet, let's talk about some of those. And maybe some of your space cadets won't mind start visiting my blog just to see that these things are real. So they'll be convinced that they're real. Now, I know everybody's not going to agree with everything. I get that. That's no big deal. There's different people that find, some people just come to the blog just because they like the Lotto. And there's many people that come because of the celebrity dream. Now, you guys are familiar with Sam Elliott, right?
Oh, yeah.
The actor?
Yes.
Yeah, the actor Sam Elliott.
God,
now,
how old is that man?
Not Sam Elliott, the guy that works at the corner store over here.
Is he like 102 or something? I mean,
he's 73.
Jeez Louise.
73. But here's an interesting thing. Now, many years ago, back in the 80s, I got mistaken for him more than once when I would be in airports and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Now, that's when I looked good. Not today. I'm haggard like he is now. But I had the thick mustache and the long hair. In fact, he was in a movie called I think it was called Shakedown, and it didn't matter where I went because I had the same kind of hair. I even drove the same kind of car, not because he drove that car. I just happened to own that car. It was a movie he was in with. Yeah, it was in a movie he was in with. I remember the girl that my girlfriend at the time. We were watching the movie. It was with Whoopi Goldberg. It was called Black Beauty or something like that. And he was driving the exact same car I owned at the time. Now here I've been mistaken for this guy, and I suddenly am driving the same exact car. It was just crazy. And I owned the car before I saw the movie, so I didn't go out and get the car because I had Sam Elliott's driving that car in the movie. And then after Roadhouse came out, I had the same thing happen after that. My friend used to laugh all the time. He said, hey, this girl here thinks you're Sam Elliott. Just play like you're Sam Elliott. I said, okay. But anyway, yeah. So here's what happened. Late last night, I said, a day before, I said, boy, I really want to see that Sam Elliott movie, The Hero. It's a new indie movie that he did about 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. And I have Hulu. You mentioned it, Space Boy. I decided to give it a shot. Now, the movies, you don't have ads, so there's no ads when you watch those. And they have a free trial going right now. So, lo and behold, what's on when I first click on this movie, The Hero, with Sam Elliott? So, I watched the film, very touching film. You might need Kleenex when you watch this one, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody. So anyway, that night after I watched the dream, now suddenly Sam Elliott is showing up. The Dreamweaver, as I call it, the subconscious Dreamweaver, is now showing me Sam Elliott all over the place in the dream. Now here's how the dream went, and this is the one that's on the blog. It was Sam Elliott, a friend of mine who used to be my training partner named Ken, and another guy named Mike, who used to train at my gym, and he worked with Ken in the phone company. They were linemen. All of these guys are in this dream, and we're sitting at a cafe outdoors somewhere where there's not automobiles, but there's a lot of foot traffic and bicycles. It almost reminds me of something foreign as opposed to the U.S., because I don't see any big buildings anywhere. Now, I'm giving you the dream in a nutshell. I'm not reading it verbatim. So what we have to look at in this dream is suddenly Ken, Sam, and me are sitting. We have sunglasses on, and we all look similar. We have these bushy mustaches, and we're younger versions of ourselves. And Sam says, "Hey, look at those 3 airplanes out there." I said, "Wonder what's going on there." And then Ken says, "It looks like they're flying kind of low, like they're in some sort of attack formation." Now, these were prop planes, and they reminded me of vintage World War II bomber planes. Like B-25s, B-17s, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now I'm just looking at these things, and within moments, the middle aircraft starts using its onboard machine guns and just starts ripping everything, shooting people. And Sam goes, "Everybody scatter, run." And I take off running one direction. Ken and Sam take off running one direction. Next thing I know, I feel something hit me in my back lower left hip. And then the next scene in the dream, I hear a voice saying, "Hey, are you okay? Are you okay?" And then suddenly I awake in the dream out of this unconscious state, and I'm looking up, and it's this guy Mike. He used to train at my gym, and he says, and he has a real Southern accent, and he goes, "Son," he says, "you are one lucky guy." And then Ken is standing there, and he helps me up, and I said, "Where is Sam?" And he said, "He's over there helping other people." And I looked around, there was this carnage of people and chaos and destruction all around from where apparently these airplanes attacked. So you got to break these fragments down. So now we have Sam Elliott, we have Ken, we have Mike, and we have these airplanes and this attacking. So, and it would be so much easier for everybody to go, of course, to the blog and read it without me explaining it all. But I'm trying to explain that, no, there will not probably be a reality where I'm sitting with Sam Elliott and my friend Ken and all that. This is what I call a preview of a future event. And that the Dreamweaver, or the subconscious, will put all these fragments together, at least in my experience, and show me this mini movie. And then I have to go in there and extract and determine what is what. So immediately on my blog, I'll put Sam Elliott's birth information for Lotto. Then below that, I'll put, here's the potential examples of high-profile news that could actually, are a possibility that could happen in the near future.
Right.
As you guys know, most of my stuff does not take a long time to manifest. It usually happens within a couple of weeks to a couple of months. Unless it's a major event, it rarely looks, far out over a year or two.
That's why I liked Serlana's question. If you have dreams that you write down and you put them in the blog, that do they ever come to fruition or not? And but most of the dreams that we've talked to you about, they seem to come pretty quickly to you once you you put them down. And I understand the urgency to get them down so that you, like I said, can have, hey, this is the dreams I had. Bam, this happened so much time after that, but usually they're pretty quick.
Yeah, I'd say that probably 85% of them happen within 90 days, and that's scary in itself. I have a friend in New York. She's on my private list, and she's all into psychics and stuff, but she's always been a little bit skeptical of my stuff. She's not anymore, but it was just interesting that she's into all this stuff, like a lot of people are. They're into psychics and astrologers and all these other things. And I noticed Gene is asking me for Lotto numbers.
He might be being funny.
Yeah, I think he's about
being funny.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Hey, Gene, play 111 on your pick 3 game in your state. See what happens. It's just a joke, but hey, you never know. I've even found that joking with people, and this is interesting, I'm glad Gene put that on there, because it segued into this other idea. I have even joked with people about things. And I said, look, this is another way the subconscious sometimes will try to get information out about future events, even with jesting or joking. Like I wrote 102 down when Sir Lana said it a minute ago about Sam Elliott. And I said, okay, I'm going to write that down because she made a joke of it. And let's just see if 102, and you know, Sir Lana, here's what's interesting about that. I know it seems like I'm jumping around. I don't mean
okay, but the last show you were on was 130, just to screw you up some more.
The last show I was on was 130?
Yeah. That's really? How he had it. Yeah, that's how he had it numbered.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It wasn't the date of 130.
No, that was the
13.
Yeah.
That was a show number.
Just to mess with you.
Right. It was now, season 1, show 30.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So here's what's interesting. Well, we'll get back to that. Anyway, so even joking about stuff, I've seen things that will manifest out of even making a joke about things. And I've seen that happen more than once. Where I told somebody, hey, you're going to do this. I remember yelling out to a guy in the middle of my gym one day. He was working out. I said, hey, man, there's going to be a check in the mail that you're not expecting. He came in the next day and he says, he came in and showed me the check he got in the mail. He said, I couldn't believe it. He said, I thought you were just kidding with me. I said, I was kidding with you. He said, there was a check in the mail. He said, I totally forgot about it. He said, it was an insurance refund. And he said, we've been waiting forever for that thing. He said, it just never showed up. And he said, there it was in my mailbox when I got home. And he brought it in to prove it to me. And he wanted to show the other people when I was talking about it in the gym. But again, like I said, I think there's a lot of interesting ways that our subconscious mind works. My mother was somebody who talked to herself a lot. I mean, I remember as a little kid walking, and she would just be talking away to herself. I've developed that same characteristic. But what I do is I carry my little notepad around with me, and I start jotting down, why am I saying this right now? And sure enough, in a strange way, it's connected to lotto numbers or a future event. And, of course, you know, again, it's just a matter of what you want to pay attention to. Mm-hmm. I remember my sister, she's like Solana, she loves reading. She reads everything. I have a friend named George, he does the same thing. I'll send something to George from a dream, and he'll say, you're not going to believe this, but I just read that very same thing in the book I'm reading now. And I've had my sister do the very same thing. So, and I didn't know they were reading those books or anything at the time. So, you know, I know what I want to talk to you about. Remember I told you about the text when we were on break?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are we coming up on another break?
Within the next few minutes. We got about 4 minutes before we could take it.
Okay, so I get a text on December 3rd. That wasn't, a few days ago, right? Mm-hmm. I get a text, and I don't get texts. Listen, when anything rare or unusual happens in your life, pay major attention to that. Because it's your subconscious, I believe, at least in my experience, it's trying to give you a heads up. Now, at first when I read the text, it says, oh, hey, Pat, I haven't heard from you in a while. Had a dream about you. I want to know if you're doing okay. And then at the bottom, I saw the phone number. And I saw his last 4 digits, 5880. And I said, oh, I know who that is. That's Mark. I said, gosh, I haven't heard. He used to train in my gym, and we used to talk about all paranormal stuff all the time. He's always interested in it, and a really nice guy. And he was a really good bodybuilder, too, as his brother was. But very down-to-earth type of guys. You know, and so, excuse me. But anyway, so when I see those 4 digits, I say, you know, every time he's called me, because he's not one of these people that stays in touch with me all the time. It's been a couple of years since I've heard from him. I said, those last 4 digits come in. So I made a note quickly, and I sent it out to my group. And I said, hey, there's a potential of this. Every time this guy contacts me, the last 4 digits of his phone number come in. Guys, they came in the next day on December 4th on the evening game, not exactly as 5880, as you guys know I say in combination. I got into a little rift with a couple of people, and they said, well, wait a minute, those numbers didn't come in. I said, you guys are not reading clearly. I said combo of those digits. It could come in this way or a combo of those digits. I said you need to know how to play the lotto properly to understand that. And then they finally got it. So these digits come in the very next day. The very next day, there's proof of this. I mean, you can't say it's made up because there's proof of all this stuff. And the thing is, I didn't text him back because I really don't text. So here's what happened. Tonight while I was watching Logan, I noticed he sent me an email. He said, hey, I sent you a text. I said, yeah. Well, I sent him the information back, and of course he got back with me right away. He said, hey, that happened the last time I contacted you. He says, well, I see you're still doing your stuff. He said, I just wanted to check on you because he said, you showed up in a dream the other night with your sunglasses on. He said, you didn't say anything to me, but he said you sort of just invaded my dream space. And he said, I just want to know what was up. So it's just incredible. And here he has his birthday, guys, 330. Think about that. it's just incredible how this stuff is all connected. We're all connected. It's just unbelievable. I know that. I don't want to say it's unbelievable because I believe it, and you guys know I'm the real deal. Anybody who follows my stuff knows there's no hoax. I would not waste my life or my time trying. I see Catalina asked me something about 1111. Now, see, I'm going to write that down. And do your fans mind me calling them out on the chat?
No. They're all good.
Some of them get a swell head about it.
Yeah, K28.
K28.
Yeah.
Before you go that route, I just wanted to circle back because, you told Gene the 111 and you were kind of joking about it and everything. And boy, look at the time. It's already break time. So let me pick that up when we come back. And you're listening to Space Boy Universe with Space Boy and Solana. Don't go anywhere because we're exploring the universe with you. Hey, this is Space Boy, and when I'm lonely at night and I want to tune into some great network, I turn into PAUK Radio Network.
I'm from another planet. I'm from another planet. Can you hear me?
City Police Headquarters. It's an emergency.
Yes?
Hello, Police Headquarters?
What's the trouble, young fella?
This is Carter.
Yes? Yes, I know. You saw a little green man.
Okay, gang, let's go.
Can you hear me? Answer me. Can you hear me? Answer me.
I am from another planet, as Solana will tell you. And
That's an old one, though.
Yeah, it is. Little Green Man.
Classic space one.
I like to think that as BC.
Before me.
Yeah, before you. Music that I wrote. And but yeah, just, this is a good time to do this. I've been writing music for some time now. In fact, Space Boy was born in 1999, March 8th. And I've been rocking it ever since. And, you can own a piece of Spaceboy music by going to spaceboymusic.com, where you can find all the wonderful music that's played here on this network, SBU, and, of course, other places across the universe. But that's the place to get it. You can get a whole album. In fact, the latest album, which is going to be the second to the latest album at some point, Unique Technique, is available for $10 for a digital download. It's not too bad. You get 17 tracks, and it's Spaceboy music that you've grown to love over the years by listening to this channel. So head on over to spaceboymusic.com and get you some, and it's good stuff, as I like to say.
And you're working on some stuff today that's really different for you, and it just, I won't say anything, but it melted my face off. Stand by.
I look forward to talking about how I came to that app, but
that'll be good times. So,
but anyway, I digress. So before we went to break, I was about to talk to you, Patrick. You brought up the Lotto thing of 111, kind of joking along. But when you brought that up, it made me kind of wonder: is your process like, okay, well, the 111 has come up? Does that mean like January 11th or November 1st or 1 o'clock in 11 minutes a.m. p.m.?
Is it just numbers?
Or 111 makes 3 if you think numerology? I mean, is that some of your process too when you talk about getting the little bits and pieces and putting them together?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you an example, and I'll get back to Catalina. Remind me on the 1111.
Sure.
I probably got her waiting there for something on that. My sister sent me the 3-digit number 109 the other day. Now, immediately when she sent me that, it started repeating around me as 109, exactly as 109. Now, we're talking about that tonight. You guys should jot that down, by the way. The why I brought that up tonight, you stimulated the scenario, and now, so what I do is I make a list, and I go down and I go, okay, I used to number the blog post when I first started the blog. So I'll go back and look at what blog post 109 was.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll write down 109 came in on the Florida Lotto, pick 3 game this many times on this particular game. So I'll write that information down. And I'll write down a whole list. I wrote down January 9th. I wrote down October 9th. So I would go and look at what came in on those dates. And again, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's like if you think of the core, or you think of the base of a tree, and you have all these branches branching out with all these so-called infinite possibilities. So it's I can't always say that it's just one thing, because sometimes it could be multiple things. It can be a Lotto number, but then to somebody else it could have this other meaning. Just like, and to segue back into Catalina asking about 1111. Now, when she said 1111, I immediately thought of a friend of mine whose birthday is 1111. Then I went to actress Demi Moore because her birthday is 1111. So all this stuff was already calculating in my mind the minute I looked at 1111 because, and my friend George started noticing, he says, most people don't do that. He said, they just look at a number and go, huh. He says, you break it all down into all these little different scenarios. And plus, I'll look at what came in on November 11th. The 4 digits 111, which are very rare to come in on the Florida Lotto, could suddenly come in any day now. They could. I think that's a very rare number. I think it's in the history of the Florida Lotto, which is about since 1988. I think those digits have only come in 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a lot of people that think there's a mystical connection to the number 1111. Some people say when you see 1111, make a wish, and your wish will come true. I've tried that. I haven't had any success with that. It makes me think of this. Did you ever see the movie Little Big Man?
I don't think I recall that one.
With Dustin Hoffman. It's a 70s movie.
Oh, yeah, I do recall that one, yes.
Do you remember Chief Dan George? Do you remember his character?
Yeah.
He was a medicine man, and he was a revered medicine man. But the comedy in this is he had a saying. He goes, well, because he would do these fantastical things around his people and Dustin Hoffman and all this. And then there was a scenario where suddenly it didn't work, and he goes, well, some days the magic works, some days it doesn't. it's just hilarious because it's so real, because this is the kind of thing we have a tendency to make the mistake of turning people into, that they can do all these different things and they can manifest this, and they can manifest that. Hey, look, even, and I never call myself a master. I don't consider myself a master of anything because I'm still learning. There's so much to learn. So that's what I'm saying. 1111 might mean this to one person, and it's important that it has that meaning to it. But because of my experience, I see it in all these varied states. If that answers the question for you there.
Interesting. And then I imagine, replacing, when you were talking about how it kind of compares to your dreams, you've got the elements, like you were talking about the computer, and then you're talking about the age of somebody. These are all just little nuggets that I guess you have to just kind of put them in a pile and just kind of like look for how they all correlate in reality.
Yeah, and absolutely. And here's what's really weird. I just now glanced up at my DVR clock, and it's on 11:11.
It's 11:11 here right now. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I glanced at it just as you were saying that, and so that's 2 times now. See, that's how it'll work. I don't know what made me glance at the clock. It was involuntary.
It just made me think of Stranger Things. The character 11 on there. So.
Yeah. Yep. And so now it may start repeating around me. And I see Catalina said it's now 9/11, which is my sister's birthday, and also that was an ominous day in the United States. So it's just so incredible to see the people on your chat participate in this.
Yeah, they're a good bunch of space cadets.
They're so well behaved.
They're well behaved.
Respectful.
Yeah, so I'm jotting. As we're talking, I'm jotting all this stuff down too, and to see what will occur. The interesting thing is that do you ever watch? You guys say you don't have cable, but do you ever watch the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon?
Yeah, on YouTube.
YouTube, we see clips. That come out. Yeah.
Okay, have you ever watched his 12 Days of Sweaters?
No, I haven't seen that.
Haven't seen that one yet.
Okay. Well, last year when he did it, I started jotting down the 3-digit winners. They had 3 digits that's under their seat, and he'll call out the 3-digit number, and of course that person will win the sweater. It started coinciding the very next day with Florida Lotto midday cash or pick 3 jackpots.
That's weird.
And I sent these to NBC. I sent it to the show. I said, you guys need to look at this stuff. It's incredible. I never did hear back from them. But the reason I'm telling this story because I want to segue into the dream I had about Jimmy Fallon on yesterday, on the 8th, 12/8. Jimmy Fallon, and it was so real, guys. And I could see, this was one of those dreams where I could see myself as I look today. and I was sitting on the floor with Jimmy Fallon. He was asking me questions about, I was asking him questions about what it's like in his job and how much work it takes and the discipline that people don't see. And I started talking about the late Johnny Carson, which is another dream fragment. So now we got Jimmy Fallon, we got Johnny Carson. Then I started, he had two other people in the room with him. Now, Jimmy was dressed in his suit that you would see him when he does his show. And I could see his face so clearly. And when I talked about Johnny Carson, I saw a tear come from his eye. And I was saying, Johnny Carson, I saw a biography on him. I told Jimmy in the dream, I said, I recently saw, and Johnny Carson was a tortured soul. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his story, but he was a loner.
His mom didn't like him at all.
Yeah, he didn't like the spotlight. He came on during his show, but they said outside of the show he didn't like socializing. He liked being by himself a lot. And I said, it's tough because there's some celebrities, they really can't, you get, when you're so famous and you're in a powerful position as he was, it's difficult to trust people because you don't know if they're being your friend because they want something or they're really just being a friend. And I brought that up to Jimmy in the dream, and I specifically brought that out, that he said that in that particular biography I was watching, he said, is this all there is? Because he had reached the pinnacle of success comparative to what Americans or people think around the world success is. A lot of people think that success is money and fame and stuff like that, but that's just not really true. But that's the illusion. And again, you guys know that if everybody could manifest whatever they wanted, most people would try to manifest some type of life like that. But within this dream, I stood up, and it was in some apartment. It wasn't in my house. It was like in some one-bedroom apartment. And I had a blanket that I actually owned that I purchased while I was in the Army in Korea, draped over this couch. And one of the men were rubbing it. He says, what's this? I said, well, that's a mink blanket from Korea. Now, there's two sides of this blanket, but it's not, they call them mink blankets, but guys, they're not mink. It's an artificial something. They're not mink, but they just call them that. So it was turned up on the side. One of the sides has a giant peacock on it, and the other side has, I think, a tiger on the other side. I had the peacock draped. Now, isn't it interesting that Jimmy Fallon works for NBC, right? Johnny Carson worked for NBC.
Yeah.
And now this blanket that's draped over this couch has the peacock on it. Huge, and it was colorful. And I said, man, I better go inspect my blanket and see if it's okay. And I went in there, and I have it stored in one of my other bedrooms, and it seemed fine. And then I mentioned, and then Jimmy said, oh, you were in Korea? You lived in Korea? I said, I lived in Korea and the Philippines. So I brought the Philippines up at the same time. So this is the fascinating part, again, of dreams and how you have to look at the fragments. Now, I don't expect, and I always clarify to people, and I clarify when I write these things, that I don't expect anything like these dreams to really happen in this reality. But the dreamweaver, or the subconscious, will dramatize or exaggerate a dream to make sure that I pay attention to those fragments. Now, of course, with Jimmy Fallon, here's the thing with Jimmy Fallon. It's not so much that Lotto hits after him, but a lot of high-profile news does. Now, I recorded a dream with Jimmy Fallon on October 14th. It was less than a week later that his mother died suddenly. That quick. And then the other dreams I had prior to Jimmy Fallon is when he had those accidents. You remember when he had a series of accidents?
Yeah, like
stumbling and he hurt his hand.
Oh yeah, I remember when he had the cast
but
on.
I heard that's because he was drunk.
Well, an accident is an accident.
Yeah, but it's a possibility. But those things all happened within short time frames after dreams of him, and some have been Lotto too. But here's another thing I've discovered with celebrities: it can be both. It can be high-profile news and Lotto, as opposed to people that I know. It can be both with them. And I've listed this new Jimmy Fallon dream. I posted it on the 8th, which was yesterday, and anybody can go on there and take a look at it if they want without me having to explain it all. And I put down Johnny Carson's birth information and death. I have to include his death information too. after the last Johnny Carson dream, there was back in February, there was a big, that was with Jim Carrey. That was interesting. Jim Carrey was actually performing in that dream, and Johnny Carson was watching him off to the side. It was so unbelievably real, guys. I mean, it's just like time travel. So anyway, I wrote down about the blanket. I wrote down that the blanket might have been a connection to get my attention on Korea. What are we going to hear about Korea? The giant peacock on the, the matching blanket. The blanket might have something to do with more news about NBC. Hopefully not about Jimmy Fallon, but, who knows. And then in this same dream, guys, this other man walked up to me. Jimmy said, "This guy wants to talk to you." And he walked away, and this man walked up to me, shook hands with me, and he said, "We're going to give you 20 minutes on the air." And I said, I thanked him. I said, "Well, thank you very much for that." He said, No. He said, "This is fascinating stuff." He said, "We're going to give you 20 minutes. It was so clear. Now, meanwhile, while I was talking to Jimmy Fallon in the beginning of this dream, I had my electric razor that I actually own. It's a Braun razor in my hand, and I couldn't put it back together. I said, "Oh, no." I'm thinking in my mind, even in the dream, is my electric razor during Mercury retrograde going to go on the fritz? So I put that down as a dream fragment, too. So all these things are down there. And again, anybody can go, you can read these things. They're posted daily without me having to, read verbatim what I have wrote here. But that's in a nutshell. And each one of those things are separate fragments. They're in the dream, they appear connected. And in reality, the only thing that might be connected is that if something happens to Jimmy Kimmel, there's the Freudian slip. I might hear something about him. But Jimmy Fallon, and it's very possible that something about Johnny Carson will be close at hand. And when those things happen, it almost appears like a domino effect. The other things will be triggered to happen as well. Something about Korea. Now, I think NBC, aren't they set up for the Winter Olympics in Korea?
I'm not sure, but usually they're usually the network that shows the Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a possibility that who knows what's going to happen there, with this situation with North Korea.
Well, we already know the Russians are not going to be there, and there was some talk that maybe America might not be going to the Olympics to Korea.
Right. And then something about the Philippines, and I said as an example, if someone tried to assassinate President Rodrigo Duterte, he's more like, he's not really a president, he's more like a dictator. But that would become big news, but I said that it's not limited to that. It could be something else that, thrusts the Philippines into the global news spotlight. So that's another example of a dream I had, and that was posted yesterday. Nothing has occurred yet, but your space cadets can keep track of these things and see what they think about this stuff. And now we have it on your show, and we have it on PA UK in case anything happens. We have it, right, time-stamped and dated right on your show.
Exactly, so they can refer back to your blog and our show.
Absolutely, they can refer back to your show and say, "This guy said this on their show right here. Here it is." And again, that was on December 8th, yesterday, and I posted it around 10 o'clock yesterday morning. So anyway, it is just so incredible, guys. I mean, I joke with somebody that I say, "Hey, I look forward to going to sleep," and they said, "Well, I do too." And I said, "Yeah, I know that, but with me, it's like I'm going to go on this incredible journey, this ride where I interact with all these people." Now, here's an interesting. Do we have time to?
Yeah,
for next week?
We're doing good.
So yesterday afternoon, and I wanted to show people that these dreams don't only happen when I'm in my sleep phase, but they happen when I have naps. And yesterday afternoon, I dozed off, and suddenly, in the dream, I'm looking at all these Budweiser beer cans. And I'm thinking, what is this? Now, guys, it was only like a 15-minute nap. It was so real that it was like I could reach out to grab one of the cans. Now, I don't drink beer. I don't drink. I drink water. That's about it. And I don't have any problem with anybody that wants to drink beer. I worked in nightclubs long enough. I saw lots of indulgence in all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is now it was specifically Budweiser beer cans. And then after it came out of the nap, of course, I put it on the blog immediately. And I gave a couple of different scenarios as to what that could mean. And again, if anybody's really curious about, like we talked about earlier, it's like the branches of a tree. I gave, a couple of different possibilities as to what that could mean. But I mean, guys, this is how real these things are. It's just. I'm looking down here to see if there's anything else. Oh, here's one. This happened locally. You guys are familiar with Chick-fil-A?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
she's not a big fan, but I am.
Well, I have one at work, and it's there, all the time.
I'm just looking at all the hits that I had on that because I put Chick-fil-A in the subject line there, and people probably thought it was free coupons, right? No. Yeah. But anyway, what happened is I posted a dream about Chick-fil-A, and I said specifically, I have a feeling we're going to get news about a local Chick-fil-A. The thing caught on fire.
You mean literally caught on fire, or the?
Yeah, Chick-fil-A, the store, caught on fire. And there's a couple of different locations, but it was a specific Chick-fil-A on 23rd Street that, I mean, it was all over the news, and there were fire engines there and everything else. And you got to understand, this isn't something that happens all the time. This was a rare event. They said they've never had any problem like that before. So, and then I had a friend of mine said, please don't dream about me. He said, it seems like everything you dream about is connected to disasters of some nature. And then I had the dream about the Burger King, and then the Burger King here locally caught on fire. Within short time frames, guys, you know how this works. Then I posted this dream about Albert Einstein the other night playing horseshoes. I want to read it, but it was just so unreal. I was walking with him, and he said he wanted to play horseshoes. And I thought, what is that about? See, this is what I mean. I even have to look at these things, but I have to follow my protocol. And here, another dream I posted on the 6th. My friend George was in the dream. I was talking to him, and a phone rang, and I answered the phone in the dream, and it's my friend from L.A. who I haven't talked to in a long time. And just like we're on the phone right now, the conversation was so clear, crystal clear, that I was talking to him, and I was thinking to myself, his name's Charles. And I said, well, it's been a while. We went back and forth. But again, these things are all posted in advance. They're real as rain, guys. These are not made up. This is something I work. It's a labor of love to prove to people, to believe that this stuff is real, that it's not a joke. It's available to all of us if you can learn to access your subconscious mind. And you have to, Solana, you're an extreme dreamer like me. We've had these discussions before.
Yep.
And I know that your subconscious is very much like mine. And are you starting to write dreams down again?
No.
No. Well,
she likes her sleep.
Yeah. Well, my sister is a dreamer like us too. And I can't, all these years, I can't get her to write them down. I said, look what I'm doing. You guys have these abilities too. Your subconscious, to have that kind of clarity in dreams, Solana, trust me, your subconscious is trying to give you some messages. Now, it might not be the same.
I don't think I want to know what they are.
Well,
I'm sure it's all bad.
You never, not necessarily, but you just never know. And, if you read about Einstein and you read about Edison, Robert Louis Stevenson, in fact, I stumbled across them. Every one of them had this ability to have these clear dreams that led them to great discoveries or inventions or great novels. And this is all documented. This isn't something they all admitted, and these people are all considered, pillars of genius in our history. Abraham Lincoln. It's documented that he had the dream of his own death prior to it happening. That's documented stuff. So lots of people have these very clear dreams. We might want to call them clairvoyant dreams, but they do have these dreams, and I'm hoping to share this stuff with people that maybe they can help decipher or figure out what their subconscious is saying. I'm not going to say it's going to be the same as mine. In fact, I tell people this is my personal experience. It may not be the exact same for you as it is for me. And remember, I try to remind people, we're not in a competition. I'm not trying to say I'm a great psychic or doing anything like this. I'm just lending the information out there and see where it leads. Are there going to be mistakes made, misinterpretations? Oh, without a doubt, I've already seen that. But I've learned from the 10 years I've been on the blog, a little over 10 years now, how to learn from those errors and how to learn from some of these things. And yet, I still ask the question, Sir Lana, there are some things that I still get a little stymied by that I feel may not have happened or that I misinterpreted or what did I miss?
Right.
To try to get additional answers. This is a never-ending quest. It's just one of those things that I think I'll probably pass on before I learn everything about it.
Well, it's, a journey we must take, through life. And speaking of journey, we are at the bottom of the hour. So let's take that last break, and, we'll be back with some more final thoughts with Patrick Sporer.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana.
All right, we're back, and as always, just talking it up with Patrick during the break. And so, Patrick, where do we go from here? We're at the final leg, the 7-inning stretch, if you will, and this can be open topic if you want to finish some thoughts off. It's really, where would you like to take it?
Well, I wanted to. You have Netflix, correct?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And do most of your space cadets have Netflix?
Most of them do, yes.
Well, there's a show I started watching, and it's right up my alley, and it's everything to do with what we're talking about tonight. It's called Dark.
That's it?
Just Dark?
Dark?
It's just called Dark, D-A-R-K.
Wow.
And it's fascinating, and it's about, I don't want to spoil it, because if you like Stranger Things, you're going to love this show.
Ooh.
But the thing is that, well, it's more cerebral. I think, Solana, I think you guys might find this equally as good, but it's not exactly the same. But it deals with a lot of interesting subjects that you have talked about on your show with other people, by the way. And it's a German series.
Oh, really?
And it is so well done. It is so well done. I mean, it is. The acting is very good. The story is good. It's very intriguing. But trust me, just watch the preview and listen to the monologue, and you'll be hooked. I believe you'll be hooked. And it's a lot of what we talked. It's very similar to what we were talking about tonight. That everything is connected and predestined and fate. And then it kind of goes into this story of if you went back in time and you were born. And I mean, it's kind of like the movie you talked about with what's the actor's name? The movie's called Predestination.
Oh yeah, with
Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke. That was a mind bender, if you will, and time travel, and I really like that movie for what it's worth, and it didn't really get much publicity, but it's definitely on those ones to watch if you love time travel movies and the twists and turns of causality. So,
I think it's one of the better time travel movies that's been made.
Yeah.
Because of but the thing is, you have to be at a mental level to watch that film. Because for a lot of people, I think the problem, it might have went over their heads a little bit because it's not like Back to the Future movies. It's really in depth, and you have to really watch. It's very cerebral. This series, Dark, is getting. I just stumbled upon it. I said, "What's this?" And the minute I listened to the preview, I said, "Oh, I'm going to watch this." And I noticed online that it's getting a lot of popularity. A lot of people are talking it up.
Yeah, I'm just kind of reading the synopsis here, kind of like when two children go missing in a small German town, its sinful past is exposed along with the double lives and fractured relationships that exist among four families. It looks pretty interesting. So I'm going to have to add, I think I've seen the cover for this. And, this is a trend with Netflix, with foreign produced originals that are coming on, and just Netflix is
they're a powerhouse now.
Even though they're not as popular in the sense of movies that have been out there, kind of like the rental thing, like they've done in the past. They have kind of brought their own.
They've got a niche of original content that's just as good now that people are starting to notice.
Oh, it's very good. They got great stuff. Amazon has some pretty good stuff too.
Oh yeah,
original.
But it's not quite on par with Netflix yet. And Hulu has some pretty good stuff too. The thing about it is, you can only watch so much. I mean, I got stuff saved on my DVR that I still haven't watched, and I try to catch up in between my other tasks and everything that I got to do here. But do any of your Space Cadets have any questions or want to call in with anything?
Well, let's check out their Space Cadets. If you got a question for Patrick,
one at a time.
We'll be glad to answer your questions. You can always do that. And,
hope it works.
Hopefully it works.
I got to get our old system back and running by next weekend.
Mm-hmm. So as we're waiting for somebody to dial in or to call us in,
I have more to talk about.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because I could do Netflix 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's another connection, interesting connection to dreams and the Lotto. These are individuals that I know personally, but they're from my past. I haven't seen any of them in a long time. I actually ran into, this is another girlfriend, not DK, this one was called Inga, but she wasn't in the dream, but her parents were in the dream, and then a close friend of mine was in the dream, but all three of them were in the dream attending a funeral. And this dream was on September 20th, 2017. So I already knew it was going to be Lotto connected. So here's what happened, to show you how interesting the connections are. So all three of them had Pick 3, Florida Lotto Pick 3 or Pick 4 jackpots that manifested all within 4 days. All three of them.
Oh.
That's incredible.
We've got a Bev calling. Let's see if this works, Patrick.
Sure.
Are you there, Bev?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Bev, how are you doing, dear?
Doing real good.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, give our best to Bob. We know how debilitating headaches can be.
God, I hate migraines.
Oh, he has them all too often.
Well, tonight is a special night, Bev. We actually have a guest on tonight, and give our guest Patrick your best question.
Okay. Okay, now my question is, when my dad was alive, I used to have, I'd call them visions, but I would have them in my sleep, to where I would see him in a casket, and then either someone would die, get really sick, or get injured in my family. But see, he died 17 years ago, and since he has been gone, I haven't had a dream about him at all. What does that mean?
Why you're not dreaming about him anymore? I don't know, Bev. I remember you asked me something about, I think last year, and I think it was you that I suggested that you take a photo of your dad and maybe sleep. Was that you that I mentioned that to?
Oh, yeah, it was.
Yeah, you live in Indiana or Ohio? What is it?
Ohio.
Ohio.
In a little village.
Yeah.
No, it snowed a little bit yesterday. We just got a dusting.
Yeah, but the interesting thing that you said, that when you had a dream about him in a casket, you had these other connections. And this is exactly what I'm talking about, because I dream about dead people all the time too. I have open conversations with my mom and dad to this day. Now, they don't always appear as they did when they passed. Sometimes they'll be younger, sometimes middle-aged. But I know in my scenario, 99.9% of the time when I dream of people who have passed on, it's usually Florida Lotto connected. In your case, and sometimes people will pass on as well. In your case with your dad, that's exactly what you were experiencing, and so it's very similar to what I was. And that you're a clairvoyant dreamer. Now, why the dreams have ceased? That is, I wish I could answer that for you. I have no idea why that suddenly would stop, unless there was nothing else for you to, nothing else, no other information, future information to come from them. Do you dream about anybody else?
Nope. I would just see him in my dreams in the casket. But since he's been gone, the dreams have stopped. It's weird.
Yeah, but do you have any other dreams? I'm saying other than, do you dream other things?
I don't know, because I don't remember my dreams.
Well, here's an experiment. I'll give you another experiment. And I experiment with a lot of different things. I'll make myself wake up after a couple hours sleep, and I'll make myself stay up for at least an hour before I doze off. And I've noticed that will enrich my dreams even more. I don't know why, but it does. And another thing I've noticed is that I'll semi-wake myself up before my initial wake-up. And within the 15 or 20 minutes that I doze back off, those dreams become like reality. And that's why when I have these nap dreams, I have these, where I wake up and I'm looking around and I'm going, where was I? I remember I had one where I was in a conversation with my older sister who lives in California, and I could see her clearly sitting on a couch, and we were talking about Sonny Bono, and I even sat up in my bed after the nap, and the image of her was still there. It was so incredibly freaky, and then she faded from sight. So there is, you said that your husband has migraine headaches.
Yes.
I have those too, from time to time. And in the 90s, I had them all the time. And I think it was directly connected to, so I'm not saying his are, but I think it was directly connected to this experience that I was going through. But I don't have them as often, and I surely don't have them as bad as I did back then. But I know those are tough to deal with. One of my former girlfriend's mothers had them to where it put her in bed for days.
Yeah, see, that's the way he is at times.
Yeah, they can be really, really tough. Have you ever?
I always know. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, my husband has very vivid dreams, and I always know when he's having them because I'm telling you what, he's all over that bed. He's like, and he remembers them. But see, I don't remember my dreams.
Does he write them down?
No, he don't. But he tells me.
You know what?
Tells me about
hey, Beth, do yourself a favor. Make him tell you the dream, and you write them down.
Oh, okay.
Start keeping a journal. I would be curious to what comes from that, because if you had that kind of recall of your dad, and you were aware of those other things, the synchronicity of those other events happening around you when your dad was alive, then you have a pretty well developed sixth sense, and you should really start exercising that some more.
Wow. And 2 weeks, I was 16 when my grandpa Riker died, my maternal grandpa, and I saw my dad in the casket. And then 2 weeks later, my grandpa was dead.
There you go. See, see, you connected the dots of your subconscious. This is what I do. This is what I work on all the time, is connecting these dots. That does this mean this? But it really, just because you saw your dad in a casket, it didn't mean your dad was going to pass on. But you started figuring out right away that it was a subconscious omen that you knew somebody, probably connected to your family in some way, was going to pass on. You learned that at an early age. That's fascinating.
Well, my grandpa knew that, he was going to die because the last year we had Christmas with him, he told us then that someone would not be here next year. And see, he battled prostate cancer. So I think he knew that he was very religious. So. Yeah.
Well, I found that this whole intuitive process really is and again, it doesn't have anything to do with how you worship or what kind of religion or what you believe or anything else. It's just something that's inside all of us. And, it connects all of us too. This whole cliche, when you hear, in movies and TV shows, usually I turn them off in the first 5 minutes if they sound kind of cheesy and they start saying, well, we're all connected. But in this series, Dark, when they talk about that, you don't get that same feeling. You can tell that there's something more cerebral about the writing and the story with that. Do you get Netflix?
Yeah, I've been watching Stranger Things. Well, that thing is really wild.
Do yourself a favor. Do yourself a favor and start watching Dark. I think just from talking to you, I have a feeling you'll really like it.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen it on there. I'm like, wonder what that's like.
I think you'll like it. I think it'll grab you from the first 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
And keep working. Truthfully, take another photo of your dad. Just put it under your pillow, or even act like you're talking to him. I had this happen with a friend of mine. He had split up with a girlfriend, and he hadn't heard from her for 3 weeks. And I said, look, he doesn't believe in any of this stuff. And I said, he was in such dire straits. I said, look, are you going to listen to me? And he said, this was an old Army buddy of mine. And I said, take a photo of her, lay it on your chest, and just talk to her as you're dozing off. Sleep. She called him the next morning. He couldn't believe it. He was in shock. And they ended up getting back together and getting married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they have 2 children, and they live outside of Atlanta now. He's never forgotten that.
Wow. That's
I'm not saying
awesome.
he manifested it. I'm saying it was just some sort of coinciding. And it was. I knew he was in such dire straits that I just needed him to relax. And once he got relaxed, it sort of just worked out.
Huh. I'll be darned. Space Boy, I'm programmed to wake up at 6 a.m.
Well, Bev,
you know, my uncle was deaf, but yet he still worked, and he was up every morning at 6 a.m. without an alarm clock. That's pretty wild.
People that do. Yeah, there's people that have that built-in alarm clock. My dad was the same way. He was up early guy. He never. I don't think he ever slept in. I can never remember him ever sleeping in.
No, just because I put out there that I get up or wake up at 6 a.m. doesn't necessarily mean I'm out of bed at 6 a.m. It just means my body is alert and ready to move. But, but lately I've found that I have been needing a little bit more sleep than normal. But and I'm sure that gives Solana enjoyment because, she loves to sleep.
I'm really good at it. I just do it so it's like the one thing I do well, and I could do it a lot.
And but yeah, like I said, and
a cat comes in to supervise me, so that's really nice.
I've been trying to go to bed a little bit later, but no matter what, I still I'm alert at 6 a.m. So, but hey,
you're a weirdo.
Hey, Bev, we love you, and we're getting close to the last few minutes of the hour, and so we need to wrap things up with Patrick. But
okay.
But I'm glad you're doing okay, and I'm glad your funding went through like gangbusters, and of course here at the Universe, it's always a treat to have you come on every weekend just to acknowledge that. Your love for the Universe and everything about it.
Yeah, and Bev, thank you so much for calling in, and you have a great holiday, okay?
Well, you have a Merry Christmas yourself.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I love you guys.
Bye, Bev.
Bye, Bev.
Bye-bye.
All right.
And it worked.
Yes,
she's
perfect.
always a sweet person.
Yeah, that's why we love getting her call. I don't like to put the Space Cadets in a corner, but at least she calls. I'm just saying.
Yeah, just saying.
Well, I remember when she called, and I was trying to remember if it was Indiana or Ohio, and I said it's Ohio.
I know. I was like, when you said that, it was like, wow, he's got a great memory.
Now, I just put that in chat. I said, man, the memory on this guy.
Well, it's slipping a little bit, guys, but, I sometimes just have to focus a little more. But then there's some days, like I said, some days the magic works, some days it doesn't. If you've never seen that movie, you really need to watch it again because it is really well done. It's for a Western.
Which movie?
Little Big Man.
Little Big Man. Yeah, we write stuff down. Like I already put the Dark on my fave list or my list.
The list
of things to binge watch. I've recently binge watched several shows. The Punisher. I'm trying to think.
Oh, that's a great show.
I just started watching The Crown today. And I'm trying to think of some of the other shows, but Mad Men was the other one. I just blew through that and enjoyed that.
Oh, you did the mob show.
Mob show. I'm trying to think.
Sopranos.
Yeah, The Sopranos. I did that like about a month or two ago, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I mean, I'd seen it. That's the problem with binge watching is that I try not to binge watch two shows at once. so that I can focus and get through one show and assimilate it. But then once I'm done there, it's like, okay, I'm on to the next one.
Which gives me time to go binge read books.
It really gives her an opportunity to get a break from me.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you guys have diverse interests. It's important in a relationship to be free enough to have that. There's a lot of relationships that don't work because people don't give the other person freedom to indulge in the thing that makes them kind of feel complete or happy at times.
Yeah,
he's staring at me,
yeah.
Patrick.
Yeah, if we could only get together on the fact that I don't like to be slapped in the head to lose my hair, then
he thinks I slap the hair off his head when he's asleep. I don't know where he gets these ideas, because I like bald men. I don't know where he gets that.
Well,
see, we've stumped him with our weirdness.
Yeah. I just say, if you have good chemistry, it overshadows everything else.
Yeah, we are yin and yang to definitely describe our relationship.
He's been making me laugh a lot recently, so I think I'll keep him around for a little bit longer.
Yeah. Yep.
So as we start to wrap the show up, Sirlana, we should make sure that Patrick puts in the plugs so people know where to find the blog and all that good stuff.
Oh, well, anyway, I want to thank you for having me on again, and I want to thank your space cadets for being so patient with me listening to these stories and these dreams and all that stuff. I hope they enjoy it. I hope some of them start following me and see this stuff is very real, and I'm very sincere and authentic with it. I want to wish you guys a very happy holiday if I don't speak with you again before the next year. Mm-hmm. And hopefully it'll be a healthy and prosperous one for each and every person on your space cadets and who are tuning in on PAUK radio. I always enjoy visiting with you guys, and so I always look forward to answering the call when you guys want me on your show. And I hope I bring really good stuff and new stuff and interesting stuff each time.
You do.
Yeah,
it's always excellent.
We always enjoy talking to you, Patrick, and you've always been a wealth of information on air and off air with us, and it's that kind of relationship that we foster and love being a part of. Your universe, and we can't think of a better person than yourself to be a part of that.
Yeah, well, if and again, it's mutual. It's mutual. And just because I don't hear from you guys, I don't get offended, guys. I understand people get busy and they got things going on, and people hit droughts, and I go through my own form of depression about life and things and all that too. But at the same time, if people want to start following me, you've put the address up there a couple of times, but you can visit patrick-patrickstott.blogspot.com, and I try to post new things every single day, usually before the Florida Lotto midday draw time is what my goal is. And if it's about people, I do. If it's about events, sometimes I'll slide those into the afternoon, and then sometimes I'll have naps. And I'll have stuff happen, dreams happen, and I'll post those as well. I put stuff about repetition phenomena on there, which is another interesting aspect of all this Mercury retrograde stuff. So I try to keep it fresh all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, Patrick, I guess we'll wrap it up here, but hold tight there as we do. Join us next week, my friends, and we'll have another exciting show.
Yep.
And until then, say goodnight, Sirlana.
Yeah.
Spaceboy Universe is hosted by Spaceboy and Sirlana. Executive producer is Sirlana. Social media producer is Dennis Koch. Associate producer is Lee Ann Cordes. Music production is Spaceboy of SpaceboyMusic.com. Special thanks goes out to Lee Ann K. K28, Mark S., and Bob N. This has been a Spaceboy Universe production. Support the universe by exploring Spaceboy Universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana. Sweet dreams, Space Cadets. You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana.